A little nickel dimer in the lane, and it goes.
Yes, the basket counts.
Teague.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Well, I was worried I was going to be able to stay up this late, but anyway, just pure joy, excitement. Obviously tired because it's late and it was an emotional game. But again, seeing our guys having a chance to cut down a net and celebrate doesn't get much better than that come March.
Our coverage of the NCAA tourney in Indianapolis is brought to you by IdealMRI.com. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Marco's Pizza, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Willis Law Firm, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, First National Bank of Central Texas, The Nichi Group.
Flagler reaching in with the steal, and now Mitchell gets around Moody.
And Meyer can drill it.
He does!
Goodness.
Off the bench, Matthew Meyer with the three.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Vital gets it to the far side. Teague up high off the glass. Oh, nice! Vital!
Had to revitalize.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
As Flagler gets away, and it's been a long time coming. The Baylor Bears are back in the Final Four for the first time in 71 years.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, there was a chance that when I flew into Indianapolis late on Thursday that I could have been flying back into Central Texas today, or I could have flown back on Sunday. But I'll be here throughout the rest of the week. Baylor now plays Saturday in the Final Four against Houston. Tonight we'll find out the other semifinal game, whether it is USC and Gonzaga or Michigan and UCLA. David Smoak in Indianapolis. In the studio, Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. They did it. They did not 1 second in that game against an Arkansas team that was relentless and came at them, constantly at them, made a run or two. They did not for 1 second last night in an Elite Eight game. Baylor trailed against Houston, and Scott Drew and the program are headed to the Final Four.
Yeah, it was really, that first part of the game was unbelievable, where they just exploded out of the gate and built themselves big enough lead where when Arkansas made their run, they could withstand it. Got all the way down to 4, but ultimately did what they always do. The other team starts to nibble back in, and then what happens? Baylor turns on the Jets, and it's almost like they like to tease you, kind of like the wrestling match where the guy he's knocked out, he comes back to life only to get knocked out again.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations to Scott Drew and Baylor, the men's program, just the athletic department. Massive moment for them last night. Nearly was as incredible of a night as you could possibly have written. I thought, Jared Butler started out really nice, which was good to see. That didn't end up being the case for the entire game. You thought that initially he might, go off for some career type of night. But, they did what they had to do when they had to do it. I didn't like the officiating in this game. I felt it was a bit too ticky-tack, especially with the game we had just watched. It was just it was kind of strange, the flow of the game at times, and I think that did affect them from blowing it open basically and making that a no-doubter. Maybe that was the point, is to make it at least entertaining. I don't know. But, yeah, they sure were dominant early, and I'm glad to see that they were able to finish it off, even though Arkansas tried to make a few runs.
We will hear from Jared Butler. Also, there's a good chance Jeff Goodman from the Stadium will join us, national college basketball writer and analyst. That's kind of 50-50, depending on some breaking news in college basketball. Also, one of the originals, the 2003 walk-on Robbie McKenzie. We'll also today hear from Chuck Cooperstein. The Alvin Brooks Jr. and Alvin Brooks III having a media session as we speak, and we'll try to come back with that at some point in the 5 o'clock hour, among others, John McClain and elsewhere with this show today. Now, Saturday was the extreme of tension. gut-wrenching tension in which the Lady Bears survived overtime with Michigan, and then Baylor ends up winning their game in a second half comeback against Villanova. It was tight. It was tense for hours. Yesterday was no different. The women down to the wire against UConn with a 10-point lead. D.D. Richards goes out a 19-0 run. And I was not at the game. I had to watch it kind of on my phone app, and I wondered, would a timeout at any time in that 19-point run have helped a little bit? I would think so. I don't know. I wasn't a part of the postgame. But a devastating loss because of the Dejanay Carrington, what she meant to the team, and also her shot. She was mugged. There's no one that could argue that unless they're blind. But in this day and age, you get the argument, she was mugged. There's no question. And then you have, but what about the call in the first? What about the game's on the line? She was mugged, and Kim Mulkey's team almost pulled off a game I was not expecting them to win against UConn, and especially when they were down early in that game.
Yeah, I think, you have the perspective. Look, they asked Gino Auriemma after the game about, LeBron James tweeted that was a foul, and he said, look, whether it was or it wasn't, he goes, I doubt that he's ever, looked at the film of a game that they've won on a similar call and called the NBA and said, hey, man, I'm sorry, that was a foul. Like, he's not going to do it. So, I mean, that's just how the game works, and it really sucks for the Lady Bears. I think what's worse is you had a 10-point lead that you let go in a 19-0 run. I don't know about you guys, but just as an observer of basketball, I kind of have a 10-point limit before I'm burning a TO on a run. Like, you get 5 possessions down the floor on me, I'm going to do that. And usually, I watch, I mostly watch Scott Drew and Big 12 coaches. I would say Scott Drew, Bill Self, guys like that to a man are about 6 to 8 points on a run, unless they're just already up against it in timeouts or fouls or something. But yeah, usually they're not going to let 6-point run, 8-point run. Let's get a TO and calm this down.
Well, it was a garbage no call. And I kind of went on a rant this morning on the Bearcast. This is, where, people say, I wish we had electronic umpires, and I wish we had this and we had that to be accurate all the time. And I'm like, no way. Like, we don't want to be like War of the Worlds and robots. And you know what? And then I watched a play like that last night. And look, basketball would probably be the last sport they could even do it in. It would just be so incredibly hard to do. But if they could, I would advocate for it after last night, because you just can't miss that call. There's a picture. The referee, the official, is right there. Clearly, the vertical plane is broken because there's 2 arms from 2 separate players on the body of Carrington, on her face, on her elbow. Like, it's just, I don't understand how officials miss calls like that. And before the officiating, alumni get together and tell us how hard it is and all of that, that's fine. That was a blown call, and I feel like the person who didn't make that call, or at least the head official, should have to answer for that call. The lack of accountability is what bothers me. And yes, like you said, UConn fans will say, well, there was the play in the first quarter, and you can go on and on about it, but that was the play of the game. As far as, the foul calls, they lost because D.D. Richards got hurt, though. I mean, that was why they lost. And it's really disappointing that they were the better team last night. I don't think there was any doubt. They were better than UConn until D.D. Richards got hurt. And you're right. They should have had some kind of answer for that run. I mean, you just can't have a 19-0 swing. I was saying this to Grayson, and I'm not like, go hit him in the face, or anything like that, but like, somebody do something to like break them, like a random elbow, just a random elbow to the ribs, like just something. And just instead it was bucket. And next thing you know, you go from 10 up to all of a sudden you're trailing. It was just really, really frustrating to watch. But overall, I just felt terrible for D.D. I wish officials had to be more accountable, but we always treat them like they're just these super volunteers that it's okay that they did wrong. They're just volunteering.
But they're not high school refs.
No, I know. But
those people need to be protected for sure.
Yeah.
But all refs need to be protected to some degree. But you know what? NFL, NBA refs, like professional refs, and college sports is at that level now. They've got to go into a room, and there's one pool reporter.
Yeah.
But we get to people, hey, Todd Archer is the pool reporter for the Cowboys, and you go to Todd and be like, hey, Todd, can you ask them this specific question? And he'll do it, and you can go and you can read the transcript and see it. So they have to be accountable for it. College officials are not held accountable for what bad calls they make. And if they were, they would probably be better at what they do because they know that they'd have to answer to it.
And that's all I'm saying. There needs to be, if you got this multi-billion-dollar business and the best of everything, why do you have the worst of the officials? Why do you have officials that every year factor into the outcome for no real reason in some cases, or they make themselves part of the outcome? Now, that wasn't the case last night. That was just a bad no call, but I do feel like they're at a level like this, there needs to be some accountability for the officials, or at least just, like you said, the pool, just to hear, like, okay, what was it that you saw that made you not blow that whistle? Like, at least give us something to explain it, because it was that obvious last night. And I'm not somebody who rails on officials very often. Now, having said that, great year. J.D. was the biggest, loss in that game. And also, it just goes to show you how hard it is to win national championships. I mean, Kim's got 3, right? Mm-hmm. And probably should have like 6. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, that's how hard it is. And that's why there's only one Nick Saban or one Gino or whatever. That's also why Gino has titles, because he gets calls like that, like it's just, that's how tricky it can be. But it just goes to show you how incredibly hard it can be to win a title, because it's not always in your control. And unfortunately, the Lady Bears had control and they let it go and didn't have an answer. And then they didn't have it in their control and there was nothing they could do about it. And I just hated to see their season finish that way. We have Jared Butler from about an hour ago, Paul. And I were able to record that. We'll have that here coming up in a minute. Here is Maceo Teague following the Baylor men beating Arkansas to get to their first Final Four since 1950. It's been a year where they've broken the drought of 1950 with a regular season conference title and a Final Four trip. And Maceo Teague about this team and how they always seem to just get it done.
No, I don't think we ever lost confidence. Who do we lose to first? Kansas. When we lost to Kansas at Kansas, it was just we had to lose eventually. Then we lost, but we felt like we weren't in our best. Like, we felt that we had to diagnose some things, correct some things going forward, and we felt like we would continue to get better as the season went on, and we didn't want to peak in January. We want to peak at the time that we're peaking right now. We just want to continue to get better, even going into this last week.
Now, I want you to hear what Maceo Teague says. This is when he was asked about Scott Drew. Listen to a man on this team of what they thought it meant to not only Scott Drew, but the coaching staff, but especially their head coach and Scott Drew.
I think he connects because he cares about us. Like, when I first got here, I honestly was I was unsure of the guy, when you get recruited, college basketball players can tell you this, like, when you get recruited, like, coaches, they kind of switch up when you get to a school. It's like they show you all the good stuff when you get to the school. They're not really catering to you as much and things like that. And he wasn't really catering to me as much, and I didn't expect him to. I was 21 years old when I got here, or maybe I was 20. I'm not really sure. But yeah, when I got here, I didn't really want him to cater to me or anything like that. But I was kind of iffy about him when I first got here. But as time went on, I truly understood it. Coach Drew, truly cares about his players. He asks you how you're doing. He tries to get to know players. He tries to keep the connection. He tries to pull you aside, just to continue to build a rapport with you, because he knows that on the floor, we're the leaders on the team are an extension of him on the floor. So he just tries to build a trust in a relationship, and it's just not for basketball. He really cares. I saw that Baylor sent, I think it's Matt Saban, I think that's his name. I'm not really sure. I don't think I met him, but Baylor sent a care package to one of the former players who I don't even know. He probably played here in 2007, and he's just staying connected with guys. So he truly cares about the people in the program, truly cares about people, and trying to put people in the best situation as possible. And I feel like that's the reason that Coach Drew connects with people, because we feel that he cares about us.
Well, Eddie's talking about Matt Saban. That was a story we had near the end of the show yesterday when it comes to the shirt that everyone was sent with all the former players' names that were a part of the program since 2003. Robbie McKenzie was a walk on that team, a walk-on player. He's going to join us in about an hour, either at 4:20 or 5 o'clock today. Now, we had an opportunity as well. Obviously, we discussed the women's finish. Lost the heartbreaker to UConn. Dejanay Carrington in the postgame.
I mean, I personally don't see it as a controversial call. I've already seen the replay, and one girl fouled me in my face and one girl fouled me on my arm. So at that point, you can't do anything else. We drew up a play. Liz got fouled posting up, and I got fouled driving. So nothing we could really do about that situation in particular. But, turn the page.
Turn the page. I thought she handled that very, very well. I really did. I hated it for the team, for everyone, because they really impressed me. I thought the way that game started, they were about to get maybe not blown out of the gym. Baylor doesn't have that happen to them, but it's a devastating loss for them. And now the questions are, what happens in the future? What is D.D. Richards or DJ Carrington's future? Are they coming back? And of course, those are questions will be answered pretty soon.
Well, and I want to say one more thing about the officials, just because of not dwelling on that one call, because like I said, the main reason they lost that game last night was D.D. Richards got hurt. They were going to beat UConn, and they might have beat them by double digits, quite frankly, had D.D. Richards been healthy. That's really frustrating, and what's also frustrating is they very well could be on their way to a Final Four, and how much money does Baylor lose out on as a result of a call at the end of the game, too? So you got to take those things. It's not just get over it. It's like there was a lot at stake there. There's a trip to the Final Four. There's legacies. There's these players' careers. There's money. Yep. I mean, there's all these things that are highly important and highly valuable. So it's not just you lost, get over it. No, you lost, and you also lost out on a lot of other things as well, potentially. So that's going back to what I was saying previously about accountability. Be accountable not only for yourself, but for all of the other things that come with the weight of a call like that. But yeah, that was a good answer by Dejanay. I mean, she said it. There's nobody who is sane can say that wasn't a call that should have been whistled. I mean, no one that's sane. And I guarantee probably 99% of people that are tweeting that, but they're UConn fans, so they're biased. But I thought the Lady Bears handled it well. Everybody was waiting for Mulkey to go crazy in the post game or something. And she made headlines, but it wasn't even because of the game. No. It was because of something else entirely. And it is what it is. It was there. Everybody saw it. And I just thought the most unfortunate part, other than the Lady Bears losing, was you had this fantastic basketball game. Mm-hmm. You had LeBron James tweeting about it. And I know he's a women's fan anyways. He tweets about women's basketball occasionally. But you had all these people tuned in. You had people going, man, screw the men's game. This women's game's where it's at. This men's game's boring. And you have this great contest, and then it ends like that. It's just so deflating, and not because Baylor lost, but because that's just a deflating way for a great basketball game to end. So, I don't know what's next for the Lady Bears. What does D.D. Richards do? What does DJ Carrington do? What do all these players do? That's going to be the next chapter for sure, and will be a very interesting one. We saw Baylor volleyball got a couple of their best players back for next year. I would imagine we'll probably be seeing some Lady Bears announcement as far as, hey, I'm going to the WNBA or I'm coming back, and I'll be very intrigued to see, who all does what.
All right. And we'll go back into that Lady Bears and their season ending, the Baylor men in the Final Four, and much more in between. The text lines lit up thanks to Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Here is our conversation with Baylor All-American and also a finalist for the Player of the Year, Baylor senior guard Jared Butler. And we're now joined on SicEm365 Radio by Jared Butler, Baylor, and the Final Four, finally there after 71 years as this team continues to accomplish so much. Jared, thanks for your time. Do you feel, even though you have bigger goals, was there a sense of relief to get to this point with the team with all the expectations?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? It was a little bit just because we get to hang a banner in the Farrell Center, and I think that's just probably the only thing that we got out of it, and also just reaching this point. I mean, winning games like that and being able to cut down to that, it's always a special moment with these group of guys. But I think it was good just because we get to hang a banner, to be honest. But like you said, there's a lot more to it.
What does it mean to accomplish this for Coach Drew, Coach Tang, all those coaches on staff that have been here a long time, and the guys who have come before?
Yeah, I think it'll mean a lot. Just as a coach's career, you want to get to as many Final Fours and win national championships. So it's I would say it's a huge stepping stone in their careers, and just does a lot for their families. And just adds some validity to their lives and their coaching career. So, like, I think it's a pretty cool thing to do that for them. And I just can't wait to.
Is there a validation to you as well, even though you have another weekend of basketball ahead of you?
What do you mean, as far as me as a player, or what?
Yeah. The fact that you guys, your team, the team you played on, you're going to the Final Four. And as a player, how much does that validate what you and your teammates have done?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah. It definitely it lets me know that I can win. These group of guys are special enough to win big games and to get over the hump that so many people have stumbled over. Just to think about the drought of how long they couldn't get past the second weekend, and we did. And it is a validation for us for sure too.
Jared, I mean, every time you guys have, moments in a game where you kind of, slip back, the other team goes on a run, nobody gets frazzled. And it's because, you're a really easygoing guy, Davion, Maceo, everybody's easygoing. Is there a person on your team who's high strung?
I think Mark is probably the only high strung person that might just like flip out if we're not like playing defense well, or they're getting too many easy layups. I think Mark might be the only person, Mark Battle.
So you just have to have one who's the psycho, right?
Yeah, you have to. You gotta have it's so vital to our team. Funny.
When did you finally go to bed last night? Was it an adrenaline rush or just exhaustion?
It's a little bit above. We got back to the hotel like 1:30. I didn't go to bed till like 4:30, and woke up at like 10 o'clock, and I had breakfast and then just been chilling. But it's like a combination of both, with just adrenaline and just so many emotions that go through your body and your brain. And, you're tired too, but like for some reason you can't go to sleep because it's like past the time you usually go to sleep. It's weird, but it's worth it for winning. Like, it's so worth it.
Do you ever kind of sit back and think how obviously it's work and everything you guys put into it, but the kind of confluence of events that had to happen for this team? You and Jared and Maceo and Jonathan are all at different teams, and all that had to kind of come together. You all had to make that decision to come here and put in the work that you did. Otherwise, maybe this doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, you think about it, like a guy from Georgia, a guy from Ohio, a guy from the Republic of the Congo, a guy from Austin, Texas, just so many different places, and you just come together and we're able to do something special for Baylor and, be able to gel. Like, that's hard to do. Like, and it's only God originated, I think, in my opinion. And I know for sure, but it's phenomenal. And that's what makes it so special in college basketball. It's such a huge thing because you build relationships with people that you would never come across. And if you didn't, if you didn't play. So, that's why it's really cool. It's so cool.
Would your career, as good as you've been as a player and as a team, and of course a lot of the recognition a lot of you have received, would your collegiate career, Jared, been fulfilled without a trip to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think so. Winning the Big 12 was a big one for me, and I felt really comfortable. And just like, okay, like, I made history at Baylor type thing. Like, like I was a part of the team, the first team to win the Big 12 championship. So I felt really, really good about that. I felt that sense of validation after the Big 12. So, yeah.
Jared Butler, Baylor senior guard with us. Paul Catalina in studio in Waco. David Smoak here in Indianapolis.
Davion Mitchell finally kind of getting a lot of coverage. A lot of people are talking about him. They've seen him in this NCAA tournament. What's it like as a teammate when you know like how good he is defensively and how he has transformed his game offensively in less than a year to be the complete player he is, to see him kind of getting all this recognition finally?
Yeah, it's exciting for me just because I know the type of person he is, number one, and then also how hard he works. He just works extremely hard. So like, to see the benefits and the fruits of his labor, it's really just shows you, what hard work can do, and what one more year or one more extra push in your life, what a year in your life can do, and just the inspiration for me to work harder and be right there beside him and continue to push forward with him, and 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 it's really cool to watch too. Sometimes I'm in the game like, dang, I do this fast. Like, I'm just like, like I'm watching it sometimes too. So it's really nice to have him on my team and not playing against him.
How many times have you gone against him in practice and he has that explosion? You're a really good defensive player. You're quick as heck as well.
Yeah.
The two of you going one-on-one, I can't even imagine the energy and the passion and the competitiveness.
Yeah, and Coach does it deliberately. Like, I haven't been on the same team with them since, like, the Big 12 championship. I haven't been on the same team. And we use that, iron sharpens iron. Play against each other on different teams. So, and I want my team to win because I feel like I'm good and I can lead a group of guys that he goes the same way. And it's phenomenal. And I just think that's what makes our team so good. Be at a high level, and why we'll be on the same team. Like it's basketball. It's fun.
I was thinking about this last night, when you guys came off of, last year not getting to even go into the tournament. And then essentially, everybody tells you you've got to stay at home. Like you can go to like two places. You have to be alone everywhere you are. Well, you guys are all a bunch of guys that have been pretty comfortable your whole lives standing alone in a basketball gym, shooting baskets. I mean, Davion in particular, Charlie Melton told me one time they had to tell him like, dude, you need to go home. Just go home. Take a break. It's fine. You've done enough for today. Not that like all that we went through as a nation in COVID was a good thing, but is it one of those things that you have a bunch of guys that could have adapted to that situation better to hit the ground running as this season started? Because, if somebody tells you can just stay alone in the basketball gym and shoot, it's not going to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, no, that's a great point you bring up. And I think, everything happens for a reason, obviously, but, I think COVID benefited a lot of people, and I think all our guys benefited from it because we're extremely hard workers, and we had no other obligations besides just getting in the gym, and that was just the perfect opportunity. It depends on the way you look at it, and you're seeing work from COVID and like just being in the house and like, okay, I got that to do. Let me just go work out, like, and let's go work out again. Like that's what you're seeing, like, and I think it happened for a reason, and I think it's benefited us, to say the least.
How much did it help that Jonathan Tchamwa, Matthew Meyer, Adam Flagler chipped in as much as they did these last two games during the tournament and gave you a lift, especially with Davion getting into foul trouble?
Man, you don't understand how important they are, especially if you're trying to go far, you're trying to win, win at a high level. You can't just have two or three guys that are good. You need, a whole army of guys, and those guys are the army. Those guys are like what make us so phenomenal and and play at a high level, because without them it's just too hard. It's just too much load, and people are too good, and we need guys with special talents with like Matt and Adam who are just extremely high level players who could start anywhere in the country and and going to be pros one day. So it's just you need those guys to be at a high level.
Jared Butler with us on SicEm365 Radio. Paul?
How did you guys come to a unanimous decision on you wouldn't let your daughters date Matthew Meyer so quickly?
That's a great question. I think you could kind of read between the lines and understand that answer. I don't know how to say it too much.
That was one of the funniest videos I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
it's really funny. You should also watch I'm passing the phone to somebody and we talk about it, and then you should also watch that. You can find it on Jackson Moffitt's TikTok.
Okay.
Jared, one more thing, and I know Paul might have a final question for you. First of all, thanks for your time. I know it's been a long stretch, but how easy or difficult, anytime a team starts to get more and more attention, players start to get more and more attention, you guys do truly believe and seem to have that feeling that everybody loves everybody. Has that been hard at all? Or have you had to rein in a couple of egos? Or has that just not been a problem with this team?
I think everybody goes through that individually. And I think what we have done a great job of is not bringing it to the court or in practice or, in our relationships, when we see each other. But I think individually, when you go back to your room and, you got all these voices outside of the team telling you that you deserve more credit or you need to do this, each individual player has to internalize that for themselves and to make a decision, what's best for the team and what route or what am I going to believe. Is it that I need more credit, or is it that I just need to, buy in more to the team? And it's a grind just because of just how much crap out in the world, criticism, advice, just relationships outside of just the team that come into play. So it's an individual game inside your mind you have to handle, and I think we've done a great job of that.
When the game ended, and I was there was excitement, but there wasn't like a complete explosion of like, we did it. There was excitement, but it wasn't as if that was the final goal. Your thoughts about what's left and how this team refocuses now on Houston, and what is the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I can agree with that. Because I didn't know we cut down nets until the day before the day of the game. They were like, "Oh, we get to cut down nets and win." I'm like, "Oh, wow, that doesn't seem that doesn't make sense to me." But end goal is obviously to win a national championship, and we got to take it one game at a time, like always. And Houston's going to be a really good team, and they've made it this far, so that means they're going to have tremendous fight. They're playing with nothing to lose, just like us, and it's just going to take us being on one accord and being together, and just having a can't lose mentality. And I think that's what's going to be important for us. And I think everything else is going to handle itself. I think from top to bottom, we just have a tremendously hardworking team that just outwork people. So I'm confident about it.
Yeah, I've heard from people. I know you know this, but there's people from 70 plus years ago. They're taking this journey with you. Players who are a part of those Final Four teams at 48 and 50. Do you feel that? Do you feel the love from the entire Baylor basketball history and even the athletic department?
Yeah, I do. Man, there's so many former Baylor players, not as old as in the 40s and the 50s, but there's recent guys that made it to Elite Eight, like F.A. and Sweetie Carter and Ishmael Rainwright, and just guys like that, just giving us pregame pep talks and giving us their advice and just cheering us on and just so proud of us, and we feel it for sure, and we take that with us onto the court, and Baylor's just so fortunate just so good to us, and we're just so fortunate to have it. So it's only right to, play our heart out for them too.
Congratulations, Jared. Get some rest. Thanks for your time. See you Saturday with Houston. Thanks for your time and the best, okay? Congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Jared Butler, senior guard at Baylor on SicEm365 Radio.
March means it's time to celebrate 22 years of serving Waco and Central Texas with big savings on all cars and trucks on the lot at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. That includes all 2021 Buicks, which have deep discounts. You can save $4,500 on a 2021 Buick Encore. You can save $3,500 on a 2021 Buick Encore GX, $3,500 on a 2021 Buick Envision. You can save $6,000 off a 2021 Buick Enclave, or qualified buyers can get 0% financing for 72 months. And if you're looking for the best truck, well, then you want a GMC, and you can find savings like $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra, or save $6,500 on 2021 GMC Acadias and GMC Terrains. And Richard Carr Motors is your local family dealer that wants to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and priority warranty service on all vehicles purchased. So come by their clean and disinfected showroom to take a test drive, or let them bring the test drive to you. And right now during the big basketball tournament, come by and take a shot at the dealership to win additional prizes. It's the big 22-year anniversary sales event going on now at Richard Carr.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Jason King of SicEm365.
Well, that's not who's next. Jeff Goodman, the Stadium, Goodman Hoops on Twitter, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. He was at Lucas Oil Stadium. He has been in Indianapolis full throttle. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Jeff, thanks for your time. You were there. When you think about the methodical march of Scott Drew from 2003 until last night's moment, what do you think?
Absolute shock, I think, more than anything else. You know, just the fact that he was there cutting down the net. It was just amazing to watch. It was basically, you know, right behind his wife when he was doing it. And I just don't think, I don't know, like for me, it was surreal, right? I've known Scott since he took the job. I was a recruiting guy then. I knew their whole staff pretty well because, you know, I spent all the time in the gyms with those guys, whether it was Paul Mills or Matt Driscoll or Jerome Tang, all of them. And just, it's surreal to me what he's done. One of the greatest stories to me in college basketball history, to take over what he did and go to the Final Four now. Just incredible.
What do you think about their matchup with Houston?
So I like it. I like it because I think, you know, what's Houston about? Toughness, right? Rebounding. They can't really score the ball at a high clip. Baylor is all of that, and they can score. You know, they're more talented. They can obviously score the ball. And the big thing for me was that Everyday John looked like Everyday John last night. Finally. Like, that was the first time, I think, since coming back from pause that their front line, like, played at a high level. Before that, I was just worried. I mean, honestly, it had been kind of very underwhelming and almost a weakness of theirs in the tournament thus far. But I thought last night it turned into a strength, and that's huge because it just gives you a little bit more of a buffer in case those guards maybe have off nights.
Jeff, what do you think the way they were able to kind of manage themselves given that early foul trouble, especially to Davion Mitchell?
Yeah, I think they can take a punch. You know, they've done it all year, right? I mean, they can take a punch, and now I think they've got their swagger back, too. They didn't have it, 3 weeks ago. So I think that's huge right now is when Arkansas kind of goes on that run and they cut it to whatever. I don't remember the closest, but, cut it to 4, possession. They don't get worried. I mean, listen, Davion is he's a killer. I mean, he's an absolute, he's who you want on the floor on both ends of the court because he's got that burst on the offensive end and defensively, even playing with foul trouble, you'd rather have him out there than 99% of the other players. But yeah, they just, listen, they play so well together. They're so unselfish. It's such a fun team. I know I'm not supposed to say this, guys, being objective, but it's such a fun team to root for because, again, it starts with Scott Drew and his staff, but I think I told you guys, maybe I did early in the year when I did the story on how Baylor was built. I spent a lot of time on the phone with every guy on a Zoom, and everyone was better than the next. I never wanted to. I could have talked to Mark Vital for, I'm telling you, 3 hours. 3 hours. He was awesome. Jared Butler's the salt of the earth type kid, the best. And you go down the line, Flagler and Everyday Don, and just whoever Davion, they're all just really good kids.
What does it say about the state of the program in the future that Scott Drew has been able to, the last few teams and building up talent-wise, really get his kind of guys and not have to take chances anymore on people?
Well, what do you mean, chances on?
Maybe this guy's not going to fit, but we can work on him, I mean, he's good, we'll work on it, we'll figure it out, and then that guy becomes a problem and has to leave. It doesn't really happen that much with Scott.
No, I think the last one was Kegler. That didn't work out for them. But for the most part, you're right. He's been able to get guys that, are good enough and have high character. And that's hard to do. Listen, even the best programs have had issues with that this year. I mean, look at Duke, look at Kentucky. So I think, part of it is these guys haven't changed as assistants. Even if they've gotten older, it's not like they've all of a sudden said, all right, I'm going to get older, I don't have to work as hard. They still grind it. They outwork people. They probably work smarter, and they know exactly what Scott Drew wants. I mean, they've known that for a while, but I think now it's very easy, and it's easier to recruit when you win.
Jeff,
go ahead, Craig.
Jeff, how special is this coaching staff that Scott Drew has surrounded himself with? And I'm not sure if you caught the video, but equally as cool, I would think, is the fact that Alvin Brooks, Scott Drew's assistant, will be going up against his father in the Final Four matchup, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. It's super cool. I mean, you just don't find that very often. That game, when you think about it, Kelvin Sampson's got his son on his staff. His daughter's also on the staff, not as an assistant, but in an administrative role. And you've got Alvin and his dad going up against each other. It's awesome. I mean, there's so many storylines, and then you also add in tonight. I mean, Gonzaga, can they get within 2 games of perfection? And I don't know about you, but we got to get a Gonzaga Baylor championship game. It would be so good for the sport and something obviously we didn't get in the regular season. I remember asking one of the Baylor guys when I did that story, I said, is it all positive that you didn't play him? And they say, yeah, I think it's going to turn out to be better that we didn't play him if we meet, obviously, in the championship game.
Jeff, how impressive is it that this was methodical? Yes, Baylor was on the edge with Duke, and Kentucky blew them out in that second Elite Eight, but that it was methodical and not something that was made with paper-thin type materials. This took time, and it wasn't one great one and done and then back to mediocrity. No,
you're right. I mean, it took steps, right? I mean, they were close. The last two times they came within, a game of going to the Final Four and lost to the two eventual national champions. I think it's really cool how, again, this team that maybe could have made a run a year ago stayed together for the most part and has done exactly what they wanted to do. And I asked them this too, and most of them kind of skirted around it and said it wasn't true. But I said, I'm like, how much did that motivate you that you didn't have the opportunity to compete for a national title last year? Vital admitted it. He said, absolutely. Some of the other ones, like Jared Butler's answer surprised me. He said, we were actually more upset that we screwed up the Big 12 title last year and that we, kind of pissed it away. And we really wanted another chance this year. But I think it's motivation. I think it's something that they felt like they had a chance to win 6 straight a year ago. And again, the whole team came back for that purpose, and to be able to show the country that they could do it at Baylor. And this is the first step. I mean, this Final Four is the first step, but ultimately everybody close to that Baylor team knows that a national title was the goal here.
All right, Jeff, thank you, buddy. I know you got a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts. We appreciate you jumping on with us as always. It was great to see you last night. We'll see you soon.
I just can't live up to Jason King. That was setting me up to fail. That was setting me up to fail.
That's my bad.
Paul.
That's my bad, Jeff. Yeah, that's my
Take
bad.
care, guys.
All right.
Later.
Thank you very much. Way to go, Paul. Oh, my God. All right, Paul, I'm about to share that number with you. I think it's the same one I have. By the way, David Lacey from Community Bank and Trust sent me this earlier today. The first ever game played at what was then New Baylor Stadium in 1950 that became Floyd Casey Stadium. The first ever game in 1950 was Baylor football against U of H football. That same year is the last time Baylor went to a Final Four until last night. And, of course, Saturday, Baylor plays Houston. Just a little wrinkle.
You see Dana's
tweet? We've seen a lot of.
You see Dana's tweet?
No, I did not.
Dana Holgerson last night tweeted out that picture from back in August when the Houston equipment truck was parked in McLean Stadium, and he made the big to-do about them getting the phone call. He tried to – one thing I did not really respect was, Houston kind of tried to paint it like the whole team had arrived when it was simply their equipment truck. But they had that picture of the Houston truck parked in McLean Stadium, and he uploaded it again. He was trolling, and he hashtag chirping, which is what he does when he's just like kind of poking at people. But he said, it's been however many months, and we still want Baylor. So that's what he had tweeted before the end of the game last night after Houston had won. So he's chiming in on the trash talk himself and having a little fun. I doubt Dave Aranda will probably say too much or much less tweet anything, but that was just a little extra element to a game that already has a lot of layers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Holgerson's got a little bit of that smart ass.
Oh yeah,
get under your skin in him. Yeah. Major League Baseball season starts Thursday. We're waiting on Quincy Acee. Paul's trying to track down the great former Baylor star who was thrilled last night that Baylor got over the hurdle and got back to the Final Four. Rangers open up against Kansas City. Home opener Monday against Toronto. The NFL has announced that their season's going to go 17 games. That's not like surprise. That's been in the works for quite some time. And Cowboys defensive lineman Tyrone Crawford announced he will retire. We'll have more from that a little bit later on today. We're now joined by former Baylor.
No. I've gotten voicemail a couple times. So if you
let's break.
Yeah, let's go ahead and break.
All right, let's break. Let's try to make it a short one if we possibly can. Quincy Acee, then Chuck Cooperstein, and then former Baylor walk-on Robbie McKenzie is also coming throughout the show today. And then the Brooks family, Alvin Jr. and 3, SicEm365 Radio.
Dodge Journey is the best value available in third-row seating vehicles on the market. Allen Samuels President's Day event is going on now with deals on the 2020 Dodge Journey. Values up to $6,500 or 0% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in combo cash. Or check out the 2020 Jeep Renegade Latitude with total values of $6,750 or 0% for 72 months, plus $2,500 in combo cash. Located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, Allen Samuels is your friend in the car business. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
You know, there are dozens and dozens of former players and coaches relishing in what Baylor has done and the trip to the Final Four. And I got a feeling one in particular, it meant a lot to Quincy Acey, former Baylor star, longtime NBA player. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Quincy, I'm not saying that completely erased 2010, but what did that moment when they clinched it last night mean to you?
It meant a lot. Felt good to see those guys accomplish that feat. You know, it's been a tough year given all the circumstances, everything that's going on, and they've been toughing it out. So it feels good. I know they're happy. I'm very proud of the coaching staff, especially Coach Drew and Coach Tane. Those guys, you know, they've took on a program from nothing, and I mean they got us to the Final Four. But the job ain't done yet.
Quincy, how much did that eat at that 2010 team that you guys, you know, were right there on the cusp, and then a really, really bad call happened and changed that game, and it's taken till now to finally complete that part of the goal.
Yeah, I mean that's a part of the game. You know, it's a game of calls, game of inches, game of momentum, and you know if that call would have been a blocking call, you know, Duke could have been sitting here saying the same thing that we're saying. So, it's just the way the game goes. We learned a lot from it, and I mean, it just wasn't our time. Coach probably had to get a little more ready, and I mean, here we are now. So I'm excited for these guys and what they're able to accomplish now and what they're about to accomplish.
Quincy, what made you believe in the message and in the vision that Scott Drew had?
I mean, just his authenticity, man. I mean, his heart. He's very genuine, and the whole coaching staff, they care about you as a person, not just what you bring on a basketball court. They want to see you become better as a human being, as a man, and they walk the same talk that they preach. And I mean, it's just a great family environment, and I mean, you can't go wrong whenever you put Christ first and family values and morals and all those things first, and then you worry about the basketball player.
We hear a lot when guys are getting recruited about they're told this or told that, and they may arrive on campus and it may be a different story. They're just trying to get players, but it seems to me that like one of Baylor's best recruiting pitches is that their recruiting pitch is authentic, and that's who they are. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely would. I mean, they walk the talk and put emphasis making sure that right, that you're okay, and make sure everything off the court is great. And like I said, when you put that first and when you emphasize that, you get guys to care about you. That's why you see all these guys playing hard and they'll run through a wall.
Do you remember the first time you ever met Scott Drew in person and what you thought?
I can't remember the exact time, but I can remember my first, feelings of him, I guess, if you will. I just thought he was he's very excited all the time. I had never really met anyone like that, coming before I come. And, I just thought he was a little too happy all the time for my liking. But, when you get to know him, that's who he is. And he's just a happy guy, And I think he probably rubs a lot of people the wrong way if you don't know him, just because it's like, who is this guy? No one can be this happy all the time. But, I mean, that's Coach Drew, man. He's smiling from ear to ear as soon as you see him. So,
Quincy, did you buy in right away at what they were trying to do to develop your game? Because they're very good at developing people, and sometimes it's hard because you've played one way your whole life, and then a coach tells you, no, we really want you to do this.
Yeah, I mean, my put me out there and told me to do what I do. But as far as kind of getting under control on the offensive end when I would get the ball, that came with time and repetition, and I think they were good at that. As far as who's the type of players that they want and that fit their style of play. So, I don't think they're in the business of trying to change too many people's games when they.
Quincy Acee with us on SicEm365 Radio. Baylor in the Final Four with their win against Arkansas. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina in studio. What is the most impressive part of this Baylor basketball team, in your opinion?
Just the tenacity on defense. They really get after it, and they seem like they're having a lot of fun out there when they're playing. And one of my best times was my sophomore year when we went to the Elite Eight for that first time with Tweedy and all those guys. And that team resembled a lot of the same characteristics and traits that I see now. A lot of joy. Team gets along with each other. Everybody's up and cheering, no matter who scores. And, those are all the great characteristics of a championship team. They get after it on defense. They're selfless. And, they're hungry. They got a lot of championship team.
Quincy, how many former players did you hear from last night, or vice versa text, when they won or they took care of business?
I mean, I just saw it all on social media. All the former guys that I played with and may have not played with, but just have known over the years. I saw everyone, tweeting and putting things on Instagram, just showing their support and their pride. It's a sense of pride to see your school up there that you put in, blood, sweat, and tears for, to get the recognition that they deserve.
Thank you, Quincy. Appreciate it, buddy. Good to have you on. Congratulations on being able to be a part of that as well, and you helped build where they are today. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'll be safe.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Quincy AC. Paul was there at the game in Houston, the block charge call. Eventually, Duke ended up winning. Baylor fans have been basically almost like claws in the skin of that game ever since. And you wonder, that doesn't erase that memory, but it sure does help alleviate maybe the pain of that memory because now you're in the Final Four.
I think it does a little bit of that because you could be like, what if you never get back?
Yeah.
There's no guarantees in the world, especially not in sports. And so you're right there at that moment, and you get that call that should have gone the other way, and then it kind of starts that was a thread you didn't want to pull at, and there you go. And you think, oh, is this ever going to happen again? Look, talking to just a couple of my friends last night that were Baylor grads, super emotional. I mean, and part of it was you had that moment when you thought, okay, just 2.5 minutes from now, Scott Drew's going to take a team to the Final Four, and that was 11 years ago. It was 10 years ago, and here we are now, and they're finally getting back. You thought maybe it was never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. Don't let it come down to officiating or to the very end. You know what I mean? We saw with the women and we saw with Quincy AC play is if you have an opportunity to bust it open, you got to bust it open. You know what I mean? And that's not always easy in these rounds of games. I mean, there's a lot of close games for a reason. But, yeah, that is amongst the top Baylor, sports controversies ever. If not the top one is the Quincy AC bad call. So, I'm sure the non-call last night will join that. Not at the top. It'll be a bit lower than that, but still, it's you leave it in the hands of anybody but yourself, and you're running the risk of it not going the way that you would like. So if you have any control over it, you got to make sure you put teams away when you have the opportunity to, and be ready to answer the bell when things change, like somebody goes down injured. So, I'm glad for players like him and just, again, the whole program, Scott Drew, all the assistants, everybody, just very thrilled for them all.
Coming up next, Chuck Cooper's team, his thoughts about Baylor. He has liked them from the beginning, and he is next on SicEm365 Radio. Don Humidor, your home for the best when it comes to cigars. A 48-foot walk-in humidor loaded up with the best names, brands of cigars from Macanudo to Rocky Patel, Arto Fuente, Ashton, Padron, Cohiba. The elite name brands in cigars, and there are many others. The number one cigar in the world, the Cuatro Nicaragua, is inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor, as they do have an array of flavor and aroma of amazing fresh coffee beans. And, if you do have problems at night falling asleep because you're one of those that just always has too much in your mind, or you just struggle when you fall to sleep or you lay your head on the pillow, and then it's 45 minutes later or an hour and a half later. That happens to everybody. It does. But they have Vitadreams that can help kind of relax you even more. It's a CBD product, allowing you to fall asleep maybe a little bit quicker or easier and get that extra 30 minutes or 45 minutes of sleep. How many times has your alarm gone off and you're like, God, I wish I had another 30, 40 minutes, 50 minutes to an hour? Well, you may not feel that way. Sometimes you still will because you don't want to get up. If you had that extra 30 to 45 or 60 minutes of sleep from the beginning. It's Don Humidor. Tell Carol and Ashley Smoak he sent you in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs. Knowing you, that's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Payments for qualified buyer were $4,000, 3.9% DTL, extra CD for details.
The 22-year anniversary sales event is going on now at Richard Carr. Make your refund or stimulus even bigger when you add savings like a 2019 Buick Encore for only $169 a month, a 2018 GMC Train for only $208 a month, a 2018 GMC Sierra for only $374 a month. 100% credit approval is always our goal. Get here now and save during the anniversary sales event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Go inside. Nice defense by Reavers. But outside they go. And the three is down the hatch. Jared Butler.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Here they go. It almost looked like Vital was in slow motion. He was in the air so long.
Our coverage of the NCAA Tourney in Indianapolis is brought to you by IdealMRI.com, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Marco's Pizza, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Willis Law Firm, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, First National Bank of Central Texas, the Nitchie Group.
Jamwa Chachwa puts it up and through as he climbs the ladder and sails.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now we go live to coverage of the NCAA men's tournament in Indianapolis. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, the Elite Eight continues here in Indianapolis tonight. USC, Gonzaga, followed by Michigan and UCLA. A couple of games that will be very intriguing. Last night, Houston and Baylor advanced. Two former Southwest Conference schools. Two teams from Texas for the first time. Back-to-back years in 1967 and 68. Chuck Cooperstein joins us on SicEm365 Radio, voice of the Mavericks, but also an incredible sports analyst. Chuck, there was a few weeks ago where somebody put up a note about all the teams in the top 10 out of Texas. At the time, maybe Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, Houston. And I put that up, and you mentioned, and how many people in some of the major markets are even paying attention to that? I know pro sports runs the major markets, but how impressive is it the first two in the Final Four are from the state of Texas?
It's great. It's really been a long time in coming. Listen, when I moved to Texas in the mid '80s, the UIL would not allow summer camps for basketball, which was just so patently absurd. And even though there was so much talent in the state, it was never allowed to develop. Well, obviously, everybody's become a lot more educated and a lot more informed, and and jumped into a sense of reality. And with the population of Texas being what it is and growing, it was only a matter of time before they were going to be able to produce what they ultimately have produced. I mean, obviously there have been great individual teams from time to time, but you look at the talent that comes out of the state of Texas every year. That's not only in the state, but also that's going elsewhere around the country, and basketball has become what it should be. And frankly, in the case of Baylor, SMU certainly had that opportunity with Larry Brown when he was there. There's really no reason why private schools shouldn't be able to succeed in basketball. It doesn't take much. I mean, frankly, it takes one or two great players and obviously the correct coach, as opposed to football where you just need so much in order to succeed. And, for a long time, programs in the state really didn't take it as seriously as they should, but now they are, because they do see the benefits of it. And now we've seen Texas Tech get to the Final Four. In 2019, we see Baylor get to the Final Four and Houston get to the Final Four this year. It's tremendous. It's for those of us who love college basketball and who want to see college basketball succeed in the state. And frankly, from a media standpoint, to have people cover college basketball, I mean, could you think of a better advertisement than this? You can't.
Chuck, for this particular Baylor team, what impresses you the most about them? Is it their ability to kind of score from every position, or is it the fact that their defense can just turn on at any time and swallow you whole?
I just think they're a terrific all-around team. They do everything well, and Scott has evolved as a coach. Not just before, when Baylor was really good, he was coaching that matchup zone. And there were very few people that knew how to deal with that. And sometimes zones can hide flaws, but now he can use the zone as a real weapon, as a changeup, because he's got the athletes to be able to play man-to-man. And then offensively, when you have guys who can shoot the ball, and we see this in the NBA all the time, shooting is the greatest commodity that exists in the game today, with the three-point shot and the number of three-point shots that are taken. And when you see Baylor doing what it's doing, and the guards being able to shoot the way they do, and Matthew Meyer, who's going to be a pro, doing what he does as a stretch four, they become extremely difficult to guard. They're spreading the floor, and then you see Davion Mitchell look like Donovan Mitchell, going all the way to the rim and finishing, and just doing it so explosively. They're really, really impressive. And I thought from the get-go of the season, they were the only team that really had a legitimate chance to get Gonzaga. And, we were all hoping to see that game in early December. I do think we're going to see that game a week from Monday night.
Chuck, you mentioned it there with Matthew Meyer, but what do you think the pro prospects are for some of these guys on the Baylor roster? From Meyer, who, could come back next year. You got Butler, you got Teague, and whoever else you want to throw in there. But what do you think some of the pro prospects are for these guys?
I think Mitchell's the best prospect of all of them. I mean, he guards like crazy. His first step is so explosive. He's improved the most, I think, of any player from the beginning of the season to now. I think he's raised his stock more than anyone else. I think Butler is a first round pick as well. But I got a feeling that when they start getting to the combines this summer and the private workouts, that Mitchell is just going to blow people away. I think he's the guy who's going to be rocketing up the charts here. And I would not be surprised at all to see him in the lottery when they do the draft on July 29th.
Chuck, you can't tell the story of where Baylor is if you don't look back to where they were. Not even the fact that it's been 71 years, which has been said since the regular season title and also a Final Four. But the fact that Scott Drew kind of reinvented himself. They had that time when they kind of went a little bit after the one and done. Didn't quite work. Yep. Perry Jones and Isaiah Austin, and also Paul, help me out, Quincy Miller. But then they reinvented themselves from zone, as you mentioned, now to man. What does it say that this was methodical and not something that was paper mache?
Well, I mean, you have that, but also I think Scott did a tremendous job of understanding what the landscape of college basketball has become. So, yeah, he was doing the whole one-and-done thing, but when he realized ultimately was that in order to be successful, you've got to get old and you got to stay old. And that's how he went to. So, you recruit some players that you think you're going to be able to develop and keep them there for 2 and 3 years. And then you go into the transfer market and you see the success that Scott's had in the transfer market is nothing short of remarkable. I mean, it's Bill Snyder-esque, if you will, if to use a football analogy, where Snyder would go to junior colleges and he would hardly ever miss on guys because he knew exactly what he wanted and what he needed from those guys in order to succeed in the system. And I think you've seen that, with Mitchell coming in as a transfer, with Jonathan Chachua coming in as a transfer. Several others have come in as well that way. And I give Scott all the credit because I think he's very much ahead of the curve when it comes to this. And it's going to allow him to stay on top of things for quite some time.
From Kelvin Sampson's perspective, I mean, here's a guy who got fired in Indiana for sending too many text messages, and then they changed that rule, and whatever else happened in Indiana. Indiana's been through, at least a couple guys since Kelvin Sampson, and here he is at Houston in the Final Four. How do you feel that he's kind of maybe justified his journey a little bit?
He's a fabulous coach. He is an absolutely fabulous coach, and the one thing that with Kelvin is that his teams will never be outworked. Now, you might beat them because you have more talent than they do, but you will never, ever outwork them. And so that's why oftentimes they play games that don't always look the prettiest. They don't really always have great shooting. I mean, he was able to get Quentin Grimes and develop him after Grimes kind of struggled at Kansas. But he's not recruited 5-star players. But he's recruiting enough players, that know how to play. I mean, this team looks very much like his OU team that went to the Final Four in 2002. And many of his other great teams at Oklahoma. Where he got into trouble was trying to recruit the Eric Gordons of the world. Not that Scott got into trouble recruiting, with the NCAA recruiting one and done. He didn't do that, but sometimes the one and done thing doesn't work out the way that you hope it will, and it's why it's always dangerous, especially in basketball. When you look at recruiting rankings and things like that, it may apply more in football, but in basketball, right now, what becomes important is your ability to develop the players you recruit and also go into the transfer portal and find players that fit. And Kelvin's done that, obviously done that. Mark Few has done that at Gonzaga, with them playing their game tonight and being the obvious favorite. I mean, really, Jalen Suggs is the one and done guy on their team. I know they've recruited another one and done guy theoretically for next year, but you look at their team. There are a lot of transfers on that team, but you have to know what guy is going to fit, and that's really I think where we are in college basketball right now.
It's going to be a great game, great coaching matchup. But what do you think about the matchup, Cougs and the Bears coming up?
I don't think that Houston can score enough. To me, Gonzaga is a prohibitive favorite to win the national championship. The only team I think that can beat them is Baylor, because I think Baylor is the only team that is capable of scoring between the 80 and 85 points that I think you're going to need in order to win that game. I mean, Gonzaga is so ridiculously efficient on offense. I mean, they're setting all kinds of records this year. They get whatever they want, whenever they want. And, they're not bad defensively, but their offense is so great that their defense is kind of lost in the shuffle. But the way Baylor can shoot the ball, if you're telling me that Flagler and Butler and Maceo Teague, and Mitchell, all those guys, can't get hot for one game against Gonzaga and beat them, but they absolutely could. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think Gonzaga-Baylor is the game we're going to see in the finals.
Chuck, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. So many different times you've been on with us. We appreciate the knowledge, insight, and what you thought about Baylor in the Final Four. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Mavericks, but today focusing in on the Baylor Bears in Houston.
Has it dawned on y'all the path that Houston's been on in this tournament?
Oh,
yes.
I mean, look at this. Baylor played a 16. Yeah, Baylor played a 16 to open up as a 1 seed, of course. Then they played a 9 seed in Wisconsin, and then they beat a 5 seed in Villanova. Houston's trip, meanwhile, and this is not to say that they can't win this game or anything, but it's just like, wow, this is not that difficult of a road to end up where they are. They started off with 15-seeded Cleveland State, went into the second round of the tournament against 10-seeded Rutgers, and then just beat 11-seeded Syracuse and 12-seeded Oregon State. They have not played a single-digit team in this tournament.
Well, and they haven't played a single-digit team. Well, I guess what was Texas Tech seed? Were they a...
I can look at that real quick. I think they were a single seed.
Yeah. So Texas Tech is the only team that they've played all year that's been any time ranked in the top 25. So they were a 6.
You're talking about the entire season.
The entire season. So not only was it this tournament, this entire season has fallen that way for Houston. Now, I think it would be fool's gold to be thinking, well, I mean, they haven't played anybody like Baylor, so Baylor's going to roll. No, look, they're in the Final Four for a reason. They're in the Final Four because they're really dang good, but it is fortuitous for Baylor that this will be the first team that Houston sees that's as good as Baylor since Texas Tech, really.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. I think that Houston is Arkansas on steroids.
Oh, I agree with you.
I think that doesn't mean that they haven't gotten a good draw, but they're really good.
Hey, look, the first year that Baylor went to the Elite Eight, they got until they got Duke. Until they got Duke, they got the best draw, and not only did they got a great draw from the jump, and then everything happened exactly as you wanted it to matchup wise around them. Like they got the team that they matched up best with won, and then they got to Duke, and then we know what happened.
Girl Friday, what's your opinion on Houston playing only double-seeded teams at this point? Craig just answered that. Are they good in a weak bracket or underrated? I think they're good, but that is absolutely something to discuss. Scotty B, apparently the last 2 times that this has happened for women's basketball, the winner of the game has never won the national title when it comes to the game involving both UConn and Baylor. I don't expect UConn to win it all. I'm against UConn for the rest of the tournament. I'm going to say this. I like Gino. Now, I know what he said after the game. If you're a Baylor fan, I like him because if the game would have ended the other way around, you wouldn't want all week long to hear about people complaining about the call, even if it's a legitimate complaint. Move on. I like listening to Gino, but they were fortunate when Dede went down yesterday.
I agree. Don't be the fans who tried to say put an asterisk on the men's Big 12 title and then go act like those people when you're complaining about those people a month ago.
Exactly.
But I would also ask you this. When has Gino not benefited from a call like that?
Yeah.
I don't think he ever has had it go against him. If it's gone against him, maybe against a Notre Dame or someone like that.
I'm sure that's pure luck.
Yeah.
Pure luck over the last 30 years. I mean that's the thing. That's all I'm saying is I'm absolutely with you. Don't be annoying Baylor fans and be all in the mentions. And it's like they win that game last night, and you can just point out the lowest IQ of the opposing fan base because they're the ones that want to jump in the mentions of like the final score and be like, well, if this wouldn't have happened, those idiots. But so don't be like that. But at the same time, things happen. It comes down to the officials. But it just seems in certain cases, especially in college athletics, that it just works out for the same people over and over again. Well, and we hear, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes
and
for some people.
Most of the time, Gino doesn't have to worry about bad calls because he wins every game by 45 points. But so he didn't have to worry about bad calls. But because he wins every game by 45 points, it kind of gets in the psyche of everybody. Well, something must be going on here that they're not. Well, sometimes the team they're playing also wins every game by 40 points. Like Baylor wins a bunch of big, they have a bunch of blowout games all the time. Gino, he's not. The other thing about Gino is he is the rare guy who's savvy enough to know exactly what to say and not to he's not going to stir the pot on it.
So the opposite of Kim.
Yeah, well, I mean.
In some ways.
I think Kim also enjoys stirring the pot a little bit.
Does.
But like Gino likes to throw cold water on things. Like, no, let's stop talking about this. And because he doesn't want to talk about it for the rest of the week. And he said, like, when they asked him, all these people think it's a bad call, he's like, okay, well, whatever. It's the call's the call. I'm not going to go back and say
the guy has, how many 10 national titles on He's John Wooden.
Yeah. So,
yeah. By the way, this is from the 214. Don't know if this has been mentioned, but Scott Drew and the Bears could join the 05 Lady Bears winning a national championship. If they're fortunate enough to do that, it would be in Indianapolis, where Baylor won it in 2005. How amazing would that be? Both coaches winning a national title in the same city. Their first. That's from Jay Stevens. Appreciate that. BUGWB mom on SicEm365. When we come back, we always got to start with Scott Drew. We have to, no matter what. With 2003, yes, you could go back to 2008 when they made the tournament, or 10 and the charge block, whatever, or whatever else. It all started when they started to build a program from scratch, from rubble, and walk-ons. And one of the original walk-ons is going to join us next. Mac Rhodes, by the way, will join us tomorrow at this time, normally scheduled for today. Dr. Robbie McKenzie from Kerrville, a part of that 2003 Baylor team, is next on SicEm365 Radio.
If you're in the market for a new home or trying to buy or sell the one you're in, you need to give my good friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, a call. And Lance, he calls himself a guy with a unique perspective, and that's probably the best way you could describe him. He's a very unique guy, got a unique perspective, great sense of humor, great guy to hang around. He's going to be fun looking at houses with. He's also a guy who's very passionate about what he does, and he's also a very fantastic listener. So he's going to hear everything that you need and want in a house, and he's going to find you your dream home. So just give him a call, 254-214-3713, and set up a meeting, and he'll take you around and show you his listings. You can look at the listings on his website. Just put Lance Donaldson eXp Realty in your little Google box, and it'll go right to his website, and you can see all the listings. You can see all the different things he has all across McLennan, Limestone, some other counties, all around Central Texas. So give him a call, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Ram Truck Month means special pricing on new Ram trucks at Allen Samuels. The 3P Motor Trend Truck of the Year, Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab, has special values up to $7,250 or 0% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in combo cash. Visit the customer award-winning Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, for the 3-time Motor Trend Truck of the Year, Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab. Ram Truck Month is going on now at Allen Samuels, your friend in the car business.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available, touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool, upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts, and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. March marks 22 years for Richard Carr Motors. Celebrate with big savings going on now during the anniversary sale event.
Welcome back into SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, David Smoak live from Indianapolis. And Armstrong just there he is.
Hey, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right, so you cannot tell the story of Scott Drew and Baylor basketball without going back to the year 2003 when it all started, right? And they had the walk-on, the tryouts. Matt Saman was a part of the team, and some guys left. And one name, Dr. James Robbie McKenzie, joins us on SicEm365 Radio, who is a part of that walk-on tryout, and he is now joining us in the day after Baylor clinches a spot in the Final Four. Robbie, I'm going to refer to you as Robbie. You told me not to use all the titles, but people need to know what you do. What did last night mean to someone like you?
It was incredible. Thanks for having me on. It's a culmination of a lot of hard work and determination from, a lot of people putting their lives into that program to get them where they are today. It's really cool to see it. I was excited.
So what was life like as a walk-on in 2003?
It was crazy. It was a whirlwind. Just getting onto the team, going through the tryout, making the team, showing up at practice the next day, just thinking like, I can't believe, where I am right now. And then, the grind of a long season with not a lot of winning that season. And so, and all of that while going through the whole pre-med program as well. So, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to go through, incredible experiences, going to a tournament in Hawaii, getting to know the guys on the team, getting to know the coaching staff, getting to know how basketball works at that level. Just a lot of unforgettable moments that I still, talking to you here 18 years later, it's just led to a lot of opportunities for me as well.
Other than your own ambition and drive, what led to you deciding, like, this is hard, but I'm going to stick with it? Like, what was that driving force for you when things were as bad as they were and really not a lot of people wanted to be associated with the program?
Yeah, I think all of that credit goes to the coaching staff because I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but Coach Drew is just one of the most positive human beings you'll ever meet. I'm sure you talk to him a lot and know that firsthand. But the guy is just positive all the time. He just exudes positivity, and he put together a really good staff that worked well together. I know it was kind of a hodgepodge, and I don't know all of the backstory of how that staff came together exactly, the details of that. But I know that once they did come together, they just kind of did everything they needed to do. They checked all the boxes of what were really needed in that moment. You had, I think you talked to Coach Driscoll recently. He acts like and talks like he's just got Red Bull running through an IV directly into his system, and so he's like that all the time. And so he's the energizer. Coach Drew was Mr. Positive. Coach Mills is the coach that I probably was the closest with and have stayed the closest with over the years. And he was just, for a lot of us, he was just that guy you could go to and lean on, and talk to. And so I think the coaching staff just kind of, whatever we needed, they had, somebody on the staff that was their strength, was to get us through whatever we needed. So I give all the credit to them.
Robbie, we had Matt Driscoll on yesterday, and I'm like on the 10th floor of this hotel, but I could have like fallen out of the window and felt like I could survive after listening to him, as all of us were just blown away. And we've known about his energy with what he's brought to the table. You mentioned that he was a little colorful. Scott Drew has a rule: you can't cuss. No language like that. Give me a little background on those two and Matt Driscoll kind of having to be broken like a thoroughbred.
Yeah. So Driscoll had worked for Billy Donovan. Was where he kind of got one of his big coaching breaks, apparently. And Coach Donovan is not necessarily known for restraining his language. And so, yeah, we had a no cussing rule. And you could just see Coach Driscoll, at times really struggled with holding it. He was effective, but you could tell it wasn't easy for him to make that transition. But yeah, it was I think a different culture for him to get into.
Did you think at any point during your time that this is where they would be now, or what was your hope for the program? When you left.
Yeah, it's interesting. Being a 21-year-old kid at the time, there was nothing in my mind where I was like going through practice that year thinking, oh, you know what, if I work really hard today, in 18 years, they're going to be in a Final Four. Obviously that's not how anybody thinks. But I think, all you can do is try to leave the program a little better than you found it. And I think that we, obviously understatement, we had the program at that moment at the lowest point that it could have been. And I think after that season, we left it in a better place. And then at that point, it falls on the shoulders of the next round of guys coming through. And you saw that with Aaron Bruce, Mamadou and going on through Epe and Quincy Acey, and you just go through the years and it just kept building and reaching new heights, and all credit goes to each level of that. But all we could do was try to leave it a little bit better. And obviously, like, Jared Butler doesn't call me and ask for shooting advice. Like he's awesome because he's awesome. But at the same time, it's incredible that their success, gives us older guys the opportunity to kind of feel that pride and feel like we contributed, and even if a small way, we were able to contribute to that.
So, Robbie, you're saying Davion Mitchell didn't get his defensive prowess from you through phone calls and things like that?
Turns out, no. Turns out he doesn't know who I am. But
well,
yeah.
The chemistry, it seems like the former players still have with the program, and a lot has been talked about. Like, the shirts that were sent out that had all the former players' names on it, and they're constantly bringing up the former players. That's the way it's supposed to be, and the way we probably think that most programs are. But the reality is, I don't think probably they are that way with all of their former players. How special is that to you to still be in the minds, you and your teammates of the coaches, even with the success they're having, they're still thinking about you guys?
Yeah, it's incredible. I texted Coach Drew last night at 11:30, right after the game, and I just said, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your team. They played hard. I'm so proud of your success, and you deserve it. And he texted me back at like 4 a.m, and he said, thanks for getting us here, or something like that. I'm like, I did not get you here, Coach Drew, but that's just his personality of always wanting to give credit, and even though I do not deserve any credit for what these guys are doing. It is special that the program has people that make you feel a part of that success. We didn't get that success back then. And the coaching staff, letting us feel a little bit of that really means a lot.
Do you remember where you were and what you were about to do when you got the call that you had made the team on the walk-on tryout?
Yeah, I was actually I was sitting in biochemistry class, and it was and it was right before class was about to start, and I had a test that day actually, and Coach Driscoll called me. Coach Driscoll ran the tryout the evening before. He ran the whole thing. Coach Drew was there. He was kind of up in the stands. You could see him, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's the head coach." But he wasn't actually part of the workout. He was just watching. Coach Driscoll was running the workout, and he called me and said, "Hey, we want you to join the team." I said, "Great. What do I need to do?" And he said, "Well, we have practice in about 3 hours, so come on over." And I was practicing that day. I had gone through this is like minutia, but I had gone through something called the clearinghouse, which you have to do to play sports in college. It's like a process you have to go through. It's kind of administrative and whatnot. And I had gone through that as a freshman because I had walked on to the football team. I went to Baylor thinking I was going to play football. Didn't work out, so I didn't make it very long. But I had gone through that clearinghouse process, and so really all I had to do was go show up at practice and put on some shoes, and I was on the team going through drills, a couple hours later, and it was pretty crazy.
How'd you do on that biochem test?
I don't remember that specific test, but I made it to med school, so I must have done okay.
There you go. Well, yeah, I think if I had gotten news like that, I don't know if I'd have been able to concentrate.
Yeah, it's probably. I'm sure it was very tough to concentrate. I was running pretty high in that moment for sure.
So Matt Driscoll just sent me a text. I told all of them, Paul, Scott, Jerome, and Matt, that you were on with us. Matt Driscoll, great human. He's the first player I've ever coached who went on to deliver a baby.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's awesome. Those guys are all still available to us former players, and I can text him. I can call Coach Mills, and they've always been available over the years to keep that relationship going. It's been great.
Hey, what's it like to see all the former assistants having the success that they were having? I mean, I know that the season's got cut short, but I mean, there's a big calling around here that Jerome Tang deserves to be, a guy that goes and gets a head coaching opportunity. Alvin Brooks has been around, but to see all these other, we nearly had the 2 or 3 former Baylor assistants versus Scott Drew matchups if things had fallen the right way. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's really cool to be talking about kind of the Drew coaching pedigree. To see Coach Mills have that success is just incredible, because he's some. I couldn't think any higher of Coach Mills going all the way back to 2003. He was really there for me personally, and I know a lot of other players felt the same way. Very excited for his success there. I texted him. Go ahead.
No, go. You finish it. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I texted Coach Mills, when they made the Sweet 16, just saying, the Cinderella thing, makes a lot of sense, because he's always been a little bit of a princess, but just needed his head not to swell up too big. He used to always brag to us about how many points he averaged back in the day growing up in Oklahoma, and I think that number always got bigger every time he told the story. So you got to keep him in check a little bit.
I got one more thing for you, if you don't mind. This is from one of the coaches. Ask him about playing the piano in Hawaii before practice.
Is that Driscoll?
I don't give up my sources.
Yeah, I grew up playing piano, so if there's a piano around, I really can't help myself. So I would bet, because it seemed like Driscoll was the most interested in the fact that I could play piano and thought that was cool. I love playing piano.
Thank you, Robbie. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on what you do in the medical field. Appreciate your time looking back at 2003. Enjoy it. What is going on? We've had Quincy Acey. We've had you, a bunch of other former players, and we appreciate you giving us time today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, fellas.
That's Robbie McKenzie, part of that 2003 walk-on tryout, made the team. And again, Coach Drew, Craig made a note about Kendall Wright even being on that shirt because he was on the basketball team. Even as a member, he was a hell of a basketball player, an athlete in Pittsburgh High School as well. So that doesn't surprise me. But having that name on there, like you said, they didn't miss anything. When we come back, Craig Smoak off the radar. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:45. Paul's 5 at 5:55 every day. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 1943. He's not quite, longer, in fact, than what Baylor waited to win a regular season conference title or even get back to the Final Four. That was 71 years. Pioneer Steel and Pipe has been in business since 1943, locations in Waco and Bryan, and what they do is sell heavy-duty products. Metal buildings is what they really specialize in, but they can help with the metal buildings and the metal roofing. And oh, by the way, they can help you design it and build it and give you all what you need when it comes to even contractor help. Building design, panel options, building components, trim options and color options, and metal building, a gallery of metal buildings for you to look at. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, they have been in business 1943, objective to make sure that when you leave their location, Waco and Bryan, you're satisfied that you have been taken care of in what you needed. That's how they built a relationship for the past nearly 80 years. How can they help? That's what they want to know. They also want to make sure you walk out the door and you almost felt as if you were the only one there, even though there are others who are there because they need what Pioneer Steel and Pipe brings to the table or to your building needs. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, the Pioneer Boys, pioneerboys.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:45, Craig began Off the Radar.
It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
All right, so this is a segment each Tuesday and Thursday around 4:45. We're going to talk about some stories that maybe we just sort of gloss over or we just simply don't have time for, and that's been the case for a lot of stories here as of late because we've been spending so much time talking about, Baylor basketball, both the men and the women, and still talking Baylor basketball, talking spring drills and all that, but just a variety of different stories to kind of get y'all's take on. And here was one that actually happened a couple days ago, but I don't think we ever really spoke on it. How are y'all feeling about Rugnet Odor and the Rangers, and this all finally kind of coming to an end? He does not make the opening day roster. He's been their second baseman for the last 6 seasons, and nearly 1,000 games played, but I'd say like the last 500 have kind of been forgettable almost.
I would say it's probably 2 years overdue for them to be off the roster. I think that's one of John Daniels' biggest mistakes was giving him a big, gigantic contract extension. And then, he was below the Mendoza line, but he was great in the clubhouse, and he was great for the organization. And, the tweet I saw was like, he had, 750 or 1,000 hits with the Rangers, but the best one wasn't with a bat because he, laid out Joey Bats that day. But it was long overdue time.
Listen, I don't have anything against him personally. I'm numb to him. Mm-hmm. Like there are some Baylor fans that got numb to the quarterback story. The certain things of the Cowboys, I'm numb to him. I think that Rugnet Odor got a contract extension as much from the emotion of punching Batista than he did for anything else. It's a huge disappointment. I'm glad. I hate it for him. The Rangers handled it well, and so did he. I wish him the best of luck, but I'm glad he's no longer there.
Yeah, I'm the same way. He got that massive contract, and just the timing of it, all it does seem like that was Jose Batista related almost. And it's amazing that he went from having that image printed on T-shirts to now, not even being a member of the club for all intents and purposes. So, I was just curious what you guys thought about Rugnet Odor. This is not a story. This is just a question. I guess, Paul, you can chime in here if you want to, but I know that Smokey's got a much better knowledge. Just with the matchup being Houston, I didn't get to see much of the Southwest Conference and all of that, but Phi Slamma Jamma, does that come to mind for you anytime you think of Houston basketball? And just what are your thoughts all these years later on Phi Slamma Jamma and their legacy?
Well, I'll tell you this. There's like 3 to 5 moments in as old as I am, what I mean by that, I've lived through a lot of moments that are exhilarating as a fan. But there are 3 to 5 moments in my lifetime that I think are the most devastating, whether it's Nebraska's tip 2-point conversion against Miami, Greg Norman's collapse in 1996 at the Masters. To me, right at the very top is SicEm365's great team losing on that shot that was missed, put up, and NC State won it all. That devastated me because I like that team. I like the players, the personalities, and I haven't forgotten much, you can tell.
Yeah, no, it's cool to see, you know, Baylor first time in 71 years. For them, it's first time since SicEm365.
Yeah, I was only, it was 1983, right, Smokey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 83 against NC State, and then the next year they lost, I think, to Georgetown in Albuquerque.
So yeah, I was 3 and 4 years old, so I don't remember it from watching it. I remember hearing my dad talk about it a lot, and one of the things I think that's cool about SicEm365, and this is not something you could say about a lot of college basketball teams, you have 2 NBA Hall of Famers on that same team, 2 of the greatest of all time. I mean, and there was really, in their era at their position, and just overall, Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon are top 7 players of their era. Not just Hall of Famers, but of the Hall of Famers of their era, you could have said, do you want these guys on your team? Yes. It wasn't even a debate.
Right.
You'd have fit them in. It didn't matter. So that's what I think about when I think about that team. I think it's cool. I wish more people knew about them, or talked about them.
I'll tell you what, Rob Williams was a hell of a guard. You had Drexler. Larry Michoud was kind of an enforcer. Of course, you had Michael Young, who's not the Rangers' second baseman, but I think he might have been like a lefty who was a fantastic shooter and kind of a forward. Hakeem Olajuwon, they had Benny Anders, Reed Geddes, they were loaded. And, man, they were fun to watch, but that broke my heart that night.
Yeah, over the weekend you may have missed it, but UFC held their
UFC
260 show. Stipe Miocic, the world heavyweight champion, was defending his title in a rematch against top contender Francis Ngannou. They had fought previously a while back, and Ngannou at that time was just not where he is now. Let's put it that way. And boy, is he a different fighter from that first matchup, because he destroyed Stipe Miocic to win the heavyweight title on Saturday night at the UFC Apex facility in Las Vegas. Twitter blew up. I mean, this is like if you were to take the UFC video game and say, create your ultimate fighter, this is what you would probably come out with is a guy like Francis Ngannou, as far as just big, nasty, strong, mean. I mean, he's
that's
total
actually
package.
The first time I saw him on TV was the other day, and that's the first thing I actually thought was it honestly looks like if you went in the video game and we're like, you could design your player, that's what I would make him look like right there.
Yeah. He's an incredible athlete, incredible story as well, and also a pretty good fighter. Stipe Miocic got checked out after the fight. He was looking for his 7th title fight victory, but Ngannou knocks him out in the second round to become the new UFC heavyweight champion. So now all of the puzzle pieces are moving around to try and set up a super fight with John Bones Jones taking on Ngannou for the heavyweight crown. Now, Jones popped off on Saturday night about the fight or whatever. He said a little something, and Dana White, being the promoter that he is, basically said that if I was John Jones, I would be scared of fighting Francis Ngannou, which of course didn't sit well with Jones. And Jones has since gone on the last 3 days to spend all of his time talking about how he wants to fight, but the money's got to be right, because it always comes back to money, right? So that's what I think UFC fans are waiting on, with a lot of other great events that'll be coming up, between now and then. But if you missed Francis Ngannou on Saturday night in the main event, that is your world heavyweight champion, and he's a dude now.
Bones Jones was my favorite Craig Smoak UFC interview that ever happened, because you asked him, you're talking about the fight, and what was that one that did he not win, or?
No, he won.
He won, but there was some controversy.
Yeah, it was a close fight, and I can't remember who exactly it was at this point.
But the way you asked the question is like, and he's like, did you think I won the fight?
Yeah.
And the look on your face was like, Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah.
You're sitting here? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, I forgot I even interviewed him. Now that I
Was it
remember
New York? Was that New York?
Yeah,
It was
the
in New
New
York?
York Super Bowl was really cool because the UFC, wasn't too big for themselves just yet. They were really trying to be what they are now, and so they were always touring. Yeah, Conor McGregor, John Jones, they would never in a million years bring those guys probably back to Radio Row. But
yeah, we did have Jorge Masvidal, which I liked.
Yeah.
He was wearing a really weird sweater, and I almost thought about, you're in Miami wearing a sweater. I mean, knock yourself out, bro. But,
he's a native. He would know,
Hey,
he was a really cool guy.
Craig, what's this monster's last name? He's
Ngannou.
Okay, here's my only thing. This is from watching enough. I know it's UFC. It's different than boxing. In boxing, he would eventually, maul people, but somebody who had fluidity and quickness would eventually get him because he's kind of almost too stiff.
Yes.
He's powerful. It's a short ring. I get it. So that's his advantage. But somebody with quickness, and I know Bones Jones has got that, but boy, he's also kind of angular, and if they tie up together, he could be in trouble.
Yeah, Bones would have to put on some good weight, and that was one thing about the fight on Saturday night is because they dehydrate themselves, they get down to a certain weight, and then as soon as they make that weight, they can start eating, drinking, doing whatever, and they all end up gaining all of their weight back in less than 24 hours. So by the time they hit the octagon on Saturday night, I forget the exact number, but Ngannou was coming in a full 20-plus pounds heavier than Stipe Miocic. There's not going to be and Miocic is bigger than Jones. So there will definitely be a size disadvantage, but you're right. Bones has got different skill sets. He's not going to try to knock Ngannou out. So that could be a very intriguing fight. That's the biggest fight they can make right now, and they're trying to make it happen, but it's going to come down to, of course, the money for Bones Jones. But you brought up the Super Bowl and getting to see all those UFC fighters there. As you mentioned earlier, NFL full go on the 17-game schedule, and now seeing word that the Super Bowl is going to be pushed back a week, so it's going to be in the middle of February now at this point, but also saw where Roger Goodell, and I know a lot of people are saying these kind of things, but he came out and told reporters that he's expecting full stadiums next season.
I
full
hope
stadium, 17 games, and the Super Bowl, I think on February the 14th, around Valentine's Day. What do you guys think?
First of all, I hope that by September we're out of this deal.
Right.
Where we can go back to full things.
Well,
we should be. But, I mean, if we're not at full stadiums by then, something's gone terribly wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the first 10 minutes of outbreak at that point. But I think the 17 game, and it's the subject of the top 5 today. I don't like the 17 game schedule. I don't get the point of it. I don't understand other than just to get one more game on TV.
It's money.
I know, but outside of money, as far as fan enjoyment goes.
Baylor's game last night tipped off at 9:57 p.m. Eastern. Why?
Money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
it's always about the money.
But I think some of that is they've figured out a way to make money. They don't want to think of a new way because sometimes think of a new way means you have to work at it.
Or give up a little bit of power.
Or give up a little bit of power. But why they program television on the West Coast better than they program television for the rest of us boggles my bleeping mind.
Yeah.
And think about it just in the sense of the two teams playing in that game were from the Central Time Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Who in LA gives a crap?
Nobody.
I mean, so why are we so concerned about people in LA and their televisions? And here's the thing: people in New York, their idea is, hell with them.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird.
But the 17th week brings more money. That's what matters. But if you say that they are too lazy to find another reason, aren't they getting ready to do with Amazon and all that? Haven't they come up with a lot of new ways to make money?
Well, I mean, part of I think the new TV deal was that they were going to do the 17th game. And look, I've got this is my top 5 because I've got some questions about it. We'll talk about it later in the show.
Okay.
Well, and I had one more story, but I'll go ahead and just save it for Thursday that Paul passed along to me on a new college football rule. But since we're where we are, I'll go ahead and save that one. But that's a little bit of just a roundup of some stories we haven't had a lot of time to speak about or haven't spoken about. And
love it.
That's some stuff off the radar.
Love it. I just, the Rugnet Odor story, I didn't even know that for a couple of days, but I'm glad you brought that up. All right, Paul, do we have Brooks?
Okay, this it's very problematic. is very long, and there were some reporters that decided in the middle not to talk to Alvin Brooks and his father about the novelty of them playing in the Final Four, but just to ask random questions about the rosters. Right. So
then what we're going to do, if you guys don't mind, John McClain at 5:30 or so, I'm going to go back. Let's go back to the Jared Butler interview.
All right, sounds good.
Jared Butler, the up for the Naismith Player of the Year. Also, Baylor All-American. We had him on earlier today. Let's come back with that. I do have these two notes. We'll start the 5 o'clock hour with some viewership notes on college basketball and the Sweet 16, and then UConn and Baylor. Some pretty impressive ratings and numbers when it comes to watching college basketball. That might be a good sign for the networks, and also that people are starting to get back to interest in what's been going on with TV. The ratings, of course, have been down quite a bit in certain ways as well. This is SicEm365 Radio. All right, your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Cindy Schaefer, who handles a lot of what Alan Samuels does with their commercials, this copy, the script, it's called co-op to make sure you get all the incentives in. I've got all this in front of me, and I voiced a little spot earlier today, a commercial script, about this being championship month at Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, like it is with Baylor, like it still should be with Baylor women's basketball, but of course that is no longer the case because of the loss and how it ended against UConn. But the men are still alive with a Final Four game against Houston. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Ram Truck Month, Dodge Performance Days, Jeep Celebration Event. There are numerous incentives. How much money you get back in return or values when you buy a truck, a car, an SUV, and also 0% interest for several months, whether it's 72 or 84 months. Ram, three-peat Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Dodge Performance Days, the first domestic brand ranked highest overall in J.D. Power's initial quality study. And, of course, the most decorated SUVs from Jeep. It's Alan Samuels. The championship drive month continues. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Mark Vital. Offensive rebound. Out to Butler. Welcome to Baylor basketball.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
2 to fire. Mitchell on the fly.
Boy, Mitchell's having himself a game.
Our coverage of the NCAA Tourney in Indianapolis is brought to you by IdealMRI.com, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Marco's Pizza, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Willis Law Firm, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, First National Bank of Central Texas, The Niche Group.
He averages 8. He has a nice spinning move right there. Meyer has been terrific with 15 points, 5 of 10.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Trice pickpocketed by Mitchell. In the blink of an eye, they go the other way. Butler converts.
Now we go live to coverage of the NCAA men's tournament in Indianapolis. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Craig will leave us here in about 30 minutes, headed over to Baylor, or less than that. Baylor football practice has open window a little bit later on. Joey McGuire, linebackers coach and assistant head coach, will be the one who has a chance to visit, along with selected players, thanks to Taylor Bryan. Also, if you have any kind of information about trying to find tickets for the upcoming weekend, the Final Four in Indianapolis, I will tell you from my perspective being here, you don't see a lot of the guys on the street corner, like the scalpers. I don't know if Indianapolis is just like cleaned them out like they were prostitutes. I don't know. Or it's just you got to do everything so much online with apps or whatever. But if you have information and you want to share it with a lot of people, then if you send me, you want to go on the text line, 254-339-1122, you can do that, and I'll pass it along, because I have had some of you ask me, hey, how do I get tickets? And I got to tell you, I have absolutely no idea. I do know I've passed along some numbers to people. There are people here in Indianapolis who have been here, and some coming in this weekend as well. What are you laughing about?
Clean them out like prostitutes. Like, if there's
I know what you meant.
I know what you mean, but like, I just had this vision in my head of like the city council meeting, like, listen, we got rid of the streetwalkers, but these damn ticket scalpers are making me just as mad.
Listen, you guys have been to enough of the events with me or elsewhere, and you can't turn the corner without walking into somebody with, you got tickets. And I'll never forget, I went to New Orleans, and I can't remember, this is many years ago, down to cover the Super Bowl. This would have been probably in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, and I remember how New Orleans looked clean as a whistle, and that they had taken like a warehouse and had gotten all the homeless people and whoever else and like put them up in a warehouse and said, you stay here, we're going to feed you, we'll inoculate you, we'll do whatever we need for you.
Until the Super Bowl's over, and then you can't have a house anymore. Okay.
So if you have any ticket advice, if you want to share information with me, I'll share it back. I don't know anything about Where they are, the cost, I've been told they might add more people this weekend. I don't know.
I would assume that the NCAA is probably taking measures as did the NFL. The NFL pretty much took out scalping.
Yeah, with the
digital tickets.
Yeah, because when I went with Eric, in Tampa, I guess it was. Yeah, it was on my phone. Now, CBS Sports, Turner Sports, their best viewership for the Sweet 16 since 1993. 2021 regional semifinals produced its best performance in 28 years, averaged 12.9 million viewers. Official March Madness social handles remain on pace for a record-breaking tournament, with engagements up 31% versus 2019. Baylor, UConn, average 1.7 million viewers. There's a big discrepancy, even with that, as good a game as you're going to get in women's basketball against what we just mentioned with the men. Most viewed game of the 2021 tournament, that's not a surprise. Those are two elite national championship pedigree coaches and programs, and it was also a great game that put everyone all the way back to where it said 0.
You know, and that was my point with the way it ended, was like, you have this fantastic game, probably your biggest audience of the year, which turns out they did, and all anybody's left with is like, that's BS. Like, that sucks to me, man. That was a great moment for women's college basketball that the officials, not entirely, because Dee injury, I still maintain, was the biggest reason why Baylor lost, but they did have a hand in it, and I don't know if it was just nerves or swallowing the whistle or I don't know what.
Well, and you flip. If you were most Baylor fans, what you did right after was flipped over to the men's game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so DJ Carrington gets walloped at the end, and then you see the first 2 fouls from Davion Mitchell, and the second one was a charge, but two of the first 3 fouls from Davion and the first one from Matthew Meyer were literally touch fouls. Yeah. I mean, just very Matthew Meyer swiped the guy's fingertips and they blew a whistle. So then if you're a fan, you're going to be like, well, what's a foul then? I don't know what it is.
And there was a comment last night, and it's funny, it might have been from Dan Walken, who we were talking about earlier, but it was him or someone else that made the comment of, hey, this Baylor-Arkansas game, these officials are controlling the pace. And I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? They are, and they don't need to be. They don't need to have any hand in the game, the rhythm, the pulse, nothing. Like, get the hell out of the way. Let these two great teams play, and just stay out of it.
I'll never forgive them for the UNC-Gonzaga championship game, which was a million whistles. And I sent you a text, Smokey, last night at the beginning of the second half, and there was already 6 fouls called, and they had called 3 fouls a minute in the first 2 minutes of the game. And
there was 7 fouls in the first 3 minutes and 14 seconds.
Yeah, so
it's crazy.
Yeah, you're talking 3 fouls a minute? Unless are there really 3 fouls a minute being going? Or do you just they had a very, scattershot definition of what was a foul? And
a player from Houston who was helping them badly fouled out with 14 minutes left in the game, and you had to remind me of that. I was like, no, that's impossible.
Yeah.
I said, I'm saying this for anyone who loves college basketball. These officials have completely become the game, lost control of the game, and killing this game. And both teams. No one came to watch a free throw shooting contest. They came to watch great athletes make plays, and every player to a man would have agreed with me.
Oh, yeah. It was a ref-controlled game, and it should never be controlled by them in any way, shape, or form. And I hate that the women's game came down to an officiating call as well, and that's all I'm saying. I mean, look at the 2 games last night as prime examples. One game, they let them play. But even with the argument of, well, they let them play, that's why they let that. No. That last foul was so blatantly obvious and physical that, I don't care if that was the first foul called all game that needed to be called. So that was a blunder there that ruined it. It didn't ruin, but harmed a great game. And then turn over to the men and watch these officials basically dictate how these two teams are going to play for the first 45 minutes. I mean, that's what I'm talking about with accountability. We should not be talking about them today in any way, shape, or form. And yet we are, because they put themselves in that position in some ways. But, frustrating. But I know we got Jared Butler to get to, I think.
Yeah, we do. And one note, this is just one statistic, that if you're not 13 of 20 at the free throw line and you're 17 of 20, but in the end, we know where we're going with that.
Well,
now,
and Kim did make a good point. I really do wish we could have just seen her go to the free throw line, because either she's tying the game, winning the game, or losing the game. There's only three options, and we would have gotten one of those three, and that would have been a way better ending, even though there were still a few seconds left, mind you. That wasn't the buzzer, but UConn would have had an opportunity regardless of the situation, I guess, but still, that would have been way better TV and would have been the right call versus the abrupt ending and the bad call. So, there you go.
I agree. All right. Now, when we come back, John McClain, next segment. But here is our conversation earlier. Craig's about to go to football practice. We'll have some of that for tomorrow. Here's our conversation with Jared Butler as Baylor punches their ticket to the Final Four. And we're now joined on SicEm365 Radio by Jared Butler, Baylor, and the Final Four, finally there after 71 years as this team continues to accomplish so much. Jared, thanks for your time. Do you feel, even though you have bigger goals, was there a sense of relief to get to this point with the team, with all the expectations?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? It was a little bit, just because we get to hang a banner in the Farrell Center, and I think that's just probably the only thing that we got out of it, and also just reaching this point. I mean, winning games like that and being able to cut down the nets, it's always a special moment with these group of guys. But I think it was good just because we get to hang a banner, to be honest. But like you said, there's a lot more to it.
What does it mean to accomplish this for Coach Drew, Coach Tang, all those coaches on staff that have been here a long time, and the guys who have come before?
Yeah, I think it'll mean a lot. Just as a coach's career, you want to get to as many Final Fours and win national championships. So it's I would say it's a huge stepping stone in their careers, and just does a lot for their families, and just adds some validity to their lives and their coaching career. So I think it's a pretty cool thing to do that for them, and I just can't wait to.
Is there a validation to you as well, even though you have another weekend of basketball ahead of you?
What do you mean, as far as me as a player, or what?
Yeah. The fact that you guys, your team, the team you played on, you're going to the Final Four. And as a player, how much does that validate what you and your teammates have done?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah. It definitely it lets me know that I can win. These group of guys are special enough to win big games and to get over the hump that so many people have stumbled over. Just to think about the drought of how long they couldn't get past the second weekend, and we did, and it is a validation for us for sure too.
Jared, I mean, every time you guys have, moments in a game where you kind of, slip back, the other team goes on a run, nobody gets frazzled. And it's because, you're a really easygoing guy, Davion, Maceo, everybody's easygoing. Is there a person on your team who's high strung?
I think Mark is probably the only high strung person that might just flip out if we're not playing defense well, or they're getting too many easy layups. I think Mark might be the only person, Mark Battle.
So you just have to have one who's the psycho, right?
Yeah, you have to. You gotta have so vital to our team.
When did you finally go to bed last night? Was it an adrenaline rush or just exhaustion?
It's a little bit above. We got back to the hotel 1:30. I didn't go to bed till 4:30, and woke up at 10 o'clock, and I had breakfast and then just been chilling. But it's like a combination of both, with just adrenaline and just so many emotions that go through your body and your brain. And, you're tired too, but for some reason you can't go to sleep because it's past the time you usually go to sleep. It's weird, but it's worth it for winning. It's so worth it.
Do you ever kind of sit back and think how obviously it's work and everything you guys put into it, but the kind of confluence of events that had to happen for this team? You and Jared and Maceo and Jonathan are all at different teams, and all that had to kind of come together. You all had to make the decision to come here and put in the work that you did. Otherwise, maybe this doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, you think about it, a guy from Georgia, a guy from Ohio, a guy from the Republic of the Congo, a guy from Austin, Texas, just so many different places, and you just come together and we're able to do something special for Baylor and, be able to gel. Like, that's hard to do. Like, and it's only God originated, I think, in my opinion. And I know for sure, but it's phenomenal. And that's what makes it so special in college basketball. It's such a huge thing because you build relationships with people that you would never come across. And if you didn't, you know what I mean? If you didn't play. So that's why it's really cool. It's so cool.
Would your career, as good as you've been as a player and as a team, and of course a lot of the recognition a lot of you have received, would your collegiate career, Jared, been fulfilled without a trip to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think so. Winning the Big 12 was a big one for me, and I felt really comfortable and just like, okay, like, I made history at Baylor type thing, like, like I was a part of the team, the first team to win the Big 12 championship. So I felt really, really good about that. I felt that sense of validation after the Big 12. So, yeah.
Jared Butler, Baylor senior guard with us. Paul Catalina in the studio in Waco. David Smoak here in Indianapolis.
Davion Mitchell finally kind of getting a lot of coverage. A lot of people are talking about him. They've seen him in this NCAA tournament. What's it like as a teammate when you know like how good he is defensively and how he has transformed his game offensively in less than a year to be the complete player he is, to see him kind of getting all this recognition finally?
Yeah, it's exciting for me just because I know the type of person he is, number one, and then also how hard he works. He just works extremely hard. So, like, to see the benefits and the fruits of his labor, it's really just shows you, what hard work can do. And what one more year or one more extra push in your life, what a year in your life can do. And, it's just an inspiration for me to work harder and be right there beside him and continue to push forward with him. And it's really cool to watch too. Sometimes I'm in the game like, dang, I do this fast. Like, I'm just like, I'm watching it sometimes too. So it's really nice to have him on my team and not playing against him.
How many times have you gone against him in practice and he has that explosion? You're a really good defensive player. You're quick as heck as well.
Yeah.
The two of you going one-on-one, I can't even imagine the energy and the passion and the competitiveness.
Yeah, and Coach does it deliberately. Like, I haven't been on the same team with them since, like, the Big 12 championship. I haven't been on the same team. And we use that, iron sharpens iron. We play against each other on different teams. So, and I want my team to win because I feel like I'm good and I can lead a group of guys that he feels the same way. And it's phenomenal. And I just think that's what makes our team so good at a high level. And while we'll be on the same team, like it's basketball, it's fun.
I was thinking about this last night, when you guys came off of, last year not getting to even go into the tournament. And then essentially, everybody tells you you've got to stay at home. Like, you can go to like two places. You have to be alone everywhere you are. Well, you guys are all a bunch of guys that have been pretty comfortable your whole lives standing alone in a basketball gym, shooting baskets. I mean, Davion in particular, Charlie Melton told me one time they had to tell him, like, dude, you need to go home. Just go home. Take a break. It's fine. You've done enough for today. Not that like all that we went through as a nation and COVID was a good thing, but is it one of those things that you have a bunch of guys that could have adapted to that situation better to hit the ground running as this season started? Because, if somebody tells you can just stay alone in the basketball gym and shoot, it's not going to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, no, that's a great point you bring up. And I think, everything happens for a reason, obviously, but, I think COVID benefited a lot of people, and I think all our guys benefited from it because we're extremely hard workers, and we had no other obligations besides just getting in the gym. And that was just the perfect opportunity. It depends on the way you look at it. And you're seeing work from COVID and like just being in the house and like, okay, I got that to do. Let me just go work out. Like, and let's go work out again. Like that's what you're seeing. Like, and I think it happened for a reason. And I think it's benefited us, to say the least.
How much did it help that Jonathan Tchamwa, Matthew Meyer, Adam Flagler chipped in as much as they did these last two games during the tournament and gave you a lift, especially with Davion getting into foul trouble?
Man, you don't understand how important they are, especially if you're trying to go far, you're trying to win, win at a high level. You can't just have 2 or 3 guys that are good. You need, a whole army of guys, and those guys are the army. Those guys are like what make us so phenomenal, and and play at a high level. Because without them, it's just too hard. It's just too much load, and people are too good. And we need guys with special talents, with like Matt and Adam, who are just extremely high level players who could start on anywhere in the country, and and going to be pros one day. So it's just you need those guys to be at a high level.
Jared Butler with us on SicEm365 Radio. Paul?
How did you guys come to a unanimous decision on you wouldn't let your daughters date Matthew Meyer so quickly?
That's a great question. I think you could kind of read between the lines and understand that answer. I don't know how to say it too much.
That was one of the funniest videos I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
it's really funny. You should also watch I'm passing the phone to somebody and we talk about, and then you should also watch that. You can find it on Jackson Moffitt's TikTok.
Okay.
Jared, one more thing, and I know Paul might have a final question for you. First of all, thanks for your time. I know it's been a long stretch, but how easy or difficult, anytime a team starts to get more and more attention, players start to get more and more attention, you guys do truly believe and seem to have that feeling that everybody loves everybody. Has that been hard at all? Or have you had to rein in a couple of egos, or has that just not been a problem with this team?
I think everybody goes through that individually, and I think what we have done a great job of is not bringing it to the court or in practice or in our relationships, when we see each other. But I think individually, when you go back to your room and you got all these voices outside of the team, telling you that you deserve more credit or you need to do this. Each individual player has to internalize that for themselves and to make a decision, what's best for the team and what route or what am I going to believe. Is it that I need more credit or is it that I just need to, buy in more to the team? And it's a grind just because of just how much crap out in the world, criticism, advice, just relationships outside of, just the team that come into play. So it's an individual game inside your mind you have to handle, and I think we've done a great job there.
When the game ended, and I was there was excitement, but there wasn't like a complete explosion of like, we did it. There was excitement, but it wasn't as if that was the final goal. Your thoughts about what's left and how this team refocuses now on Houston and what is the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I can agree with that. Because I didn't know we cut down nets until the day before the day of the game. They were like, "Oh, we get to cut down nets and win." I'm like, "Oh, wow, that doesn't seem that doesn't make sense to me." But end goal is obviously to win a national championship, and we got to take it one game at a time, like always. And Houston's going to be a really good team, and they've made it this far, so that means they're going to have tremendous fight. They're playing with nothing to lose, just like us, and it's just going to take us being on one accord and being together, and just having a can't lose mentality. And I think that's what's going to be important for us. And I think everything else is going to handle itself. I think from top to bottom, we just have a tremendously hardworking team that just outwork people. So I'm confident about it.
Yeah, I've heard from people. I know you know this, but there's people from 70 plus years ago. They're taking this journey with you. Players who are a part of those Final Four teams at 48 and 50. Do you feel that? Do you feel the love from the entire Baylor basketball history and even the athletic department?
Yeah, I do. Man, there's so many former Baylor players, not as old as the 40s and the 50s, but there's recent guys that made it to Elite Eight, like F.A. and Tweety Carter and Ishmael Rainwright, and just guys like that, just giving us pregame pep talks and giving us their advice and just cheering us on and just so proud of us, and we feel it for sure, and we take that with us onto the court, and Baylor's just so fortunate just so good to us, and we're just so fortunate to have it. So it's only right to play our heart out for them too.
Congratulations, Jared. Get some rest. Thanks for your time. See you Saturday with Houston. Thanks for your time and the best, okay? Congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Jared Butler, senior guard at Baylor on SicEm365 Radio.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
ECU in Fort Worth over the weekend. They need a little kick in the pants. They play Texas State tonight. That game at the Baylor Ballpark tonight. USC is in Gonzaga, about 30 minutes away, 45 minutes away from tip. Michigan, UCLA, and if Michigan wins, the ticket prices go up. The demand goes up because Indianapolis, of course, Indiana closer, even though UCLA is a national brand. The Michigan-UCLA game, watch that if you're the one trying to find tickets. And that game is the nightcap. I still can't believe that game here started at nearly 10 o'clock. I did not get back to the hotel. Paul, I was on the phone with you.
Yeah.
Like 1:45 in the morning or whatever it was, walking from Lucas Oil Stadium to the hotel. Wasn't very far away. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer. Sic'em Bears, John.
One of the reasons that the TV ratings will be low is because those idiots have the game on at midnight in the Eastern time zone. And there's a lot of people who are not going to stay up and watch college basketball, no matter who it is or how exciting is that late when they got to be at school and work. And I think it's just asinine to do that. And I feel empathy for the women. I feel excitement and exhilaration for the men. As you can imagine, here in Houston, people have gone crazy over the Cougars getting to the Final Four for the first time since Phi Slama Jama. And as I tell people, they talk about Baylor in the Final Four. I say there's no such thing as the Final Four. The last time Baylor was among the Final Four. You know, there were 8 teams in the tournament. NIT was bigger, and they didn't call it the Final Four then, but I wasn't even born. That's how long ago it was. And then I tell them about Jackie Robinson in 1948, and they're like, Jackie Robinson, he went to UCLA. He was playing for the Dodgers in 48. I said, that's another Jackie Robinson. So it's been great to talk about it. I had so much fun. Sirius called me to talk all basketball in Southwest Conference before this round, and I was happy to tell them about a lot of stories about the Southwest Conference and Baylor playing at Rena Mars McLean Gym, and then the Heart of Texas Coliseum, the Hot Box, as guard Roy Thomas named it, and then when the roof got blown off by a tornado, they went back to Rena Mars.
John, so how did you react at the end of the game? I'm curious as to how you watch a Baylor game when they're on their way to the Final Four.
I have been, Paul, since I started as a full-time sports writer in 1973 at the Waco Tribune-Herald while I was a junior at Baylor. I had been taught you never cheer at a game, no matter what it is. Before every NFL game I've covered for 45 years, they say no cheering in the press box. And the only time I don't really cheer, like when I go to Baylor football and I sit with my friends, or if I go Baylor basketball and sit in the stands, I clap, but I've just been conditioned so much against it. But when I'm home by myself and I'm not around people other than my best friend, Lester said from Baylor, well, then I really get into it. The gloves kind of come off. I felt terrible about Dee Dee Richards, reminded me of Lauren Cox. I felt terrible about Dejanay Carrington in the last play in which he obviously got fouled. But then I thought, man, you should have made the free throws. And but to play that way with number one team, number one seed, and UConn, and what a great rivalry that's become. I just felt awful. But the women are the defending national champions, and for the men, you know, it's just such a rarity to get this far. And I've told them here, I've been asked about it on talk shows all day. Of course, I want Baylor to win, but if Baylor doesn't win, I hope the Cougars win their first championship.
John, the Phi Slama Jama years, of course, come to mind because it's been a while for Houston, and we know their run back when they almost won it all in NC State and Jimmy Valvano became famous, and then they lost to Georgetown. But it's a phenomenal history at the University of Houston. I remember, I'm old enough to remember Elvin Hayes and the teams back when they had those battles with Lou Alcindor. What do you think it means to Houston? We know what it means to Baylor. We've heard from Quincy Acey, Paul Robbie McKenzie, a walk-on, and, of course, former coaches and players. What does it mean to Houston?
That 83 University of Houston team that had what I thought was the most spectacular college game, not exciting at the end, but just spectacular against Louisville, the Doctors at Dunk versus Phi Slama Jama. You know, there's never been a college game like that. And then they blew it to NC State. The year before, they'd lost to North Carolina, and you mentioned Georgetown 3 years in a row. to get to the Final Four with Keem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Larry Michaud, and Michael Young all being number one draft choices. Point guard Reed Geddes, broadcaster now basketball, and Benny Andrews is sixth man. That team was so much fun to watch. And I remember when I was a senior in high school at Richfield, and the Rockets couldn't sell out in Houston and had no regular home. They played home games in Waco and San Antonio. And I remember going to the Coliseum and watching the Rockets play the Lakers when the Lakers had a 33-game winning streak and won a championship, and the Rockets had the Big E, and they beat the Lakers in that game. So it's a big, basketball's big down here, certainly not because of the Rockets right now, because they're one of the worst teams in the league. And a lot of people don't pay a whole lot of attention for the University of Houston, but they are now, because as you guys can imagine, they've captivated a big audience, whether you're a basketball fan or not, because they're going to the Final Four and they're playing Baylor. And there's so many Baylor alums around here who are just, the excitement level is through the roof. The only thing that'd be better than being the Final Four in Indy is if the Final Four were in Texas so we could all go.
John, the 17-game schedule official now. The players clearly don't really feel that strongly about doing it, and obviously there's more revenue for the league. Outside of the more revenue for the league, what do you see as the benefits of the 17th game?
No benefit at all other than it gets rid of a preseason game. You know, they proved last year you can have a great regular season without any preseason games. But they're going to do 3. Eventually they'll go to 2. Eventually they'll go to 18 games. I saw this week, I can't remember who was tweeted a lot of headlines and stories from 1978 in the off season when they agreed to go from 14 to 16 games. My first Oilers training camp in 77, they played 6 preseason games. Training camp was 8 weeks long. And when they went from 14 to 16 and reduced the preseason to 4, all those stories and headlines were how the records would never be the same. The accomplishments would never be the same. You know, there's only been one 4,000-yard passer in history, and it was amazing to read the predictions of doom statistically to the NFL. And I'll tell you this, 1,000 yards is not going to mean squat for a running back anymore. He's going to have to get close to 1,500 to be special. But I think it's great. Anything that keeps us from having to watch preseason games, which to me are the absolute most boring thing you could ever watch, except maybe exhibition games in the NBA or some of those college games they play early in the season against tomato cans. But I know the Texans' 17th game is going to be against Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers. Maybe Deshaun Watson will get traded despite 19 lawsuits he's got right now, with the possibility of more. Panthers need a quarterback. Maybe they'll do it, take their chances on the outcome of what happens to him.
John, you're not numb because you can't be numb because of what could be the truth. But is this Deshaun Watson story just wearing you out?
We have city side writers covering it, so I don't have to write. I write columns about it, but every talk show I do, one week I told everybody that was calling me, I'm sorry, I'm taking a week off from talking about Deshaun Watson other than my regular shows. I have to do it. But yes, because you never know when the next one's coming from. Sports Illustrated had one yesterday in which they interviewed a woman, a masseuse, who talked about her experience. She's the first woman who has done an interview. And she is not part of Tony Busby's attorney, the 19 lawsuits. She said she talked to him but didn't want to have to sign a contract for him to represent her. So she's talking to another attorney here, a civil rights attorney, about what her options are. So if any of these others start talking to the media, and it's one thing to read it in a lawsuit, but then when you read a story, it's even worse. And that's why I don't think Deshaun could ever play here again. I think he'll get suspended, but at some point it will all be behind him. He'll play great for somebody, but he already wanted out of here in the worst way and they were going to trade him. This kills them for getting a haul before the draft. And but I'm sure that the farther away he gets from Houston, the less bad memories he'll have, and hopefully the women will be heard and get what the courts believe they deserve.
John, what do you think? I mean, so the end game is he gets suspended for a little while, he settles and all that, but is this going to go criminal at all? I mean, it would seem like it might have already gone to that place here after a couple of weeks.
Well, the problem with criminal case, you have to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Civil suits, you don't. And it's a preponderance of evidence, and it's a lot easier to win in civil court. And so what he should do is reach settlements with all of his accusers and no admission of guilt, and then have them sign non-disclosure clauses, because then they couldn't talk to the NFL investigators. I think he'll be suspended under the personal conduct policy, even if he makes it all go away, because of bad judgment. Because he's not denying that he solicited massages online, and I don't know if this means anything. Some of them went across state lines. They were California, Georgia, and Texas. So I don't think it'll ever go to civil court. But Tony Busby has not disclosed who they are. And Rusty Hardin, Watson's attorney, wants to know who the Jane Does are. And one reason you don't tell them, because if they do find out their names, they're going to have their investigators all over their background, everything about them, doing everything they can to make them look bad. So this is not going to be over anytime soon. And the first day of the draft, April 29th, before these lawsuits, the Texans were going to try to trade him to one of the teams they're called, and they thought they could get 3 1s, 2 2s, and a defensive starter at least. And you may think, well, geez, that's a lot. Well, look what the 49ers gave up for a guy who will be the third-ranked quarterback in the draft. And they paid dearly to get into the third spot. And I don't think the trading for quarterbacks is over. But once 5 teams have taken quarterbacks in the first round, that takes them all out of Deshaun Watson trade talk, so they're never going to get what they could have gotten.
Yeah, it just seems like that. The organizations they didn't know. That's I guess the last question. I know Paul's got his segment coming up as well to close us out. But John, why would the Texans have? Do you think there's no way would they have had an inkling of any of this? Or why wouldn't they?
Well, first of all, they wouldn't. All this was Watson and a woman by themselves. Nobody else was around, according to every lawsuit. And so it was just the two of them. So I don't think he's going to be spreading the word. And a lot of people out there think that the Texans are behind all this, and which is absolutely preposterous, because it's killed them from getting this draft haul, including a franchise quarterback to help jumpstart their rebuild. Nothing good comes out of this for anybody. The women, Watson, the Texans, but somebody will get him at some point for a lot cheaper price, and then maybe a year from now, everything will be fine, and he'll be playing great, and eventually it'll be like Roethlisberger, Vick, Elliott, all these other players. Leonard Little killed a woman driving drunk, a grandmother, and when he came back from his suspension, the Rams fans cheered him, and he went to the Super Bowl. Fans are very forgiving no matter what you do. And so Watson will bounce back from all this. And if indeed he's guilty, I hope the women are able to bounce back as well.
Yeah, John, if I'm the Texans, I'm not putting out stories about this. I'm showing him saving like kittens from a storm drain or something like that if I'm trying to get more money. I mean, it's that's preposterous that they would cost themselves 3 number 1 picks for spite.
There's a lot of people that think that, and of course it's ridiculous.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. Sic'em.
There you go. John McClain, very proud Baylor alum, Houston Chronicle, Hall of Fame writer. You mentioned he started covering the Oilers in San Angelo in 1977. I was at that training camp like 4 years later. Earl was like his 3rd or 4th year. Pretty good timing. If he did it in 77, that would have been Earl's senior year at Texas. So that would have been Earl a year before he arrived at the Oilers and their training camp in West Texas. All right. Now, a couple of things. USC tips off with Gonzaga, 6:15. Paul, USC's pretty good.
But Gonzaga's great.
Can they?
Gonzaga's just great. I mean,
Michigan. Okay. No, they are. And you know what? I've started to see a little bit of this. I don't know if you have as well. You know, when the Baylor fan base has focused a lot of their attention, obviously, on Beta and then the Big 12, and they've had to deal with a lot. The Baylor fan base has dealt with a lot when it comes to men's team. And, of course, this DJ Carrington thing will be the next 10 years version of Quincy Acey. But I see now people trying to pick them apart. Like they don't play defense. Actually, they play really good defense. Maybe not Baylor defense.
Do you need to hold your other team to 60 points if you're going to score 91? Probably not.
I remember a team called Loyola Marymount, Paul Westhead. I've seen some teams that like to go up and down the court. I mean, and then these teams kind of get them in an ugly type of game.
And look, maybe that's Baylor's best shot if they get them, or Houston's if they do. So. But everyone else has tried to run with them, which would to me be like going up to Mike Tyson going, listen, let's each punch each other as hard as we can.
And you start.
You go first. You first.
All right, and UCLA, Michigan, that's intriguing. I'll tell you what, I watched UCLA. They got some dudes that can freaking shoot the basketball.
Yeah, UCLA, though. Heard of them. Yeah, UCLA, look in the next couple years, it looks like they're going to be pretty good there under Cronin as their coach.
I like what he does. He's an energetic type of guy.
And but I think Michigan wins. I think we're going to have 3 number ones and a number 2.
All right, and that's tonight. Those are the 2 games. They'll join Baylor and Houston. Most likely Baylor's going to be like the 4:15 game, although that's not official. Central Time on Saturday. And it's time for Paul's 5 at 5:55.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Slapsticks Comedy Club, coming soon. Follow the Facebook page as Kevin and Mike build the club, and you can kind of see the genesis of it, but it's coming soon. And I actually just talked to Kevin a few minutes ago during the break about some of the stuff they've got coming up and some of the stuff that we're trying to get going. It's Slapsticks Comedy Club here in Waco. Going to bring the laughter back to Waco here soon. All right, top 5 complaints about the 17-game NFL season. Number 5, do the fans even want this? Smokey, I mean, you and I are NFL fans. Do I want one more game? Do I care?
I got to tell you, even with Washington struggling, but they won the division, which brings at least some excitement to the end of the year. No, I'm one of the few in America. I think maybe I'm one out of every 400 million people that doesn't want an extended NFL season. I like the seasonal changes. I like how you have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And you know what I'm getting to here, right? I like the way the seasons hand off to each other. College basketball to Major League Baseball, eventually, of course, the NBA playoffs, and then here we go with football at all 3 levels, especially in Texas. I kind of like the fact that they all kind of dissolve, and here comes the next thing.
Yeah. All right, number 4. The players don't want it. I mean,
that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but like it should matter. It should matter to me. I know that they collectively bargained it, but talking to Robert Griffin III after that all went down last year, it gave me a real unique perspective. Not unique, but a real different perspective on. Well, I mean, the league is kind of divided among the players about what they think is best and what's good for the league. And I think sometimes the players vote because they're giving up. They don't know what they're giving up to get what they think they want, and the owners have pulled the wool over their eyes.
Paul, the players, we know the story here. Yeah. They have no chance of shooting this down.
No.
I'm not so sure that what's the guy's name that runs the union? Starts with a D.
Oh, DeMaurice Smith.
Yeah, DeMaurice Smith. If this was like, hey, we're going to lower the cap, and then we're going to shoot it back up, announce this TV deal. We need you to kind of shut up. And we're going to slip into 17 games.
But that's what I mean. Look, Robert Griffin III was against the the collective bargaining agreement, and the league, it didn't pass, it wasn't overwhelming, of the players. So the players don't want it. I think that's just something going forward. I just want the employees, the people I'm watching, the entertainers that I'm watching to be really into it. I wouldn't want to go to watch The Lion King on Broadway and then would be like, Hakuna Matata. Same with the NFL.
Don't ever do those lyrics with that kind of lack of energy.
That's what I'm saying, though.
That's got to be happy and unfortunately, some people may not think about us upbeat.
Yeah. Number 3 doesn't really eliminate the preseason all that much. One game. That's it.
You know what? The less preseason, the better. I think 2 games is fine. 3's the max. 4's insane. So, okay.
Yeah, I would do 2 games so that they can get in a rhythm, and then let's go. All right, 2. It's one more game for injuries.
That's also, by the way, the preseason games, they're not going to let that dwindle too much because they make as much money off a game like that as they do with the 17th game.
Yeah.
So, all right, injury, one more game.
One more game for injuries. One more game, you got to be like, oh, my gosh.
Because it's a legitimate game, and it also could be even one more week where teams shut down because they've already clinched yet a week before week before.
That's a fantastic point. There's 2 sides to every coin, and that's the other side of that coin is, if your team is running away the division and you're a fan who really wanted to go watch Aaron Rodgers play, well, he might be wearing a jacket.
Here's an example. Philly, New York, Washington, or Dallas, with their 6-10 record, will already most likely have clinched the division. And they don't need to play their starters in week 7.
All right. So other than revenue, which I understand is the number one reason to do anything.
It's the only reason.
It's the only reason. But see, if it's just we're going to get money, sometimes we're going to get money. The question is, well, what's going to happen to this money if something bad happens? I don't know if the NFL's asked that question.
What if something bad? What do you mean bad? Nothing bad happens.
Plenty of bad things happen.
It's money.
It's money.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, but but it doesn't just. I wish it grew on trees, or I wish I walked outside and said, "Listen, nothing bad happens with money," and then somebody threw a big bag at me and gave me enough time to get away from the hordes of people who were going to come and rob me because they saw the free bag of money I just got. I mean, it just, if it was, and I say what are the reasons other than revenue? The revenue is going to increase, and that's great, and that might trickle down to the players eventually in a salary cap form. But right now, the salary structure is not going to change. And 2. If the only reason you're doing something is for money, then that's not enough reasons. Is it going to make everything better? Because you could take, everybody all of us at SicEm365 could decide we're going to go take other jobs for better money. And if that's the only reason we did it, then I would guarantee most of us would be like, man, I miss SicEm365 because we only did it for money. And so the NFL, I realize this is billionaires.
Which, by the way, would be a good thing if everybody across the board with SicEm365 understood that.
Yeah. So
that it's about the money.
But
All right, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Oh, God, that's exhausting. It's about the money, and it always is, and it always will be. It's like the contracts, the holdouts, and everything else. All right, thanks to our guests today. We'll work on tomorrow. Mac Rhodes will join us tomorrow, thanks to Jared Butler, David Case, greatness with that, Jeff Goodman from the Stadium, Quincy AC, Chuck Cooperstein, Robbie McKenzie, former Baylor walk-on, Alvin Brooks. No, we didn't get to that. We'll have to have Paul go into his magic chemistry lab and try to figure that out, because that could have been such a great 10 to 12 minutes, but I guarantee it lingered and people fell asleep. But that's too bad.
Well, the other thing about it was that I just clicked on different parts of the audio to see where it is, and we're going to run the video of it, but to see what's in it, and it's kind of intermixed with hey, Matthew Meyer's good off the bench.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know. They should have. That's one of those things. You don't want to tell the media what they get asked on anything, but they should have said keep it to the family or to between the history of those two in Houston.
Yeah.
And Baylor. Yeah, I agree. All right. You wonder what names like Vinny Johnson, Terry Teagle, Michael Williams, and others. Mike, our buddy in Dayton, said, "Hey, how about the guys on the 1950 team?" And we're scratching and clawing for some of those.
We had Mr. Robinson.
Jack Robinson.
Yeah, we
I
had
bet
Mr.
Robinson's happy. Carol Dawson, some of those, Jim Howler.
I would bet our odds aren't calling the 1950 team aren't getting somebody who is as alert and ready to go as Jack Robinson was. So
that's only 9 years before I was born.
Yeah.
So. Oh, that's right. They would have been 18 or 22. So there's another 20 something. Yeah, you're right. All right. Thanks to Armstrong Sims, of course, the genius behind the scenes. Jack there today, or is he skipping another week? It's going back to every other week with him.
He's got class today, does he?
Okay.
All right. Well, but he does do the graphics for Top 5. So.
Yeah.
So he does.
Okay. That was nice of him. Appreciate that, Jack. Dead to me. Also, thanks to, I'm not sure if it's Colt or Grayson, one of those two every day, always helping to put things up on the Premium Insider section. Or is that you, Armstrong? Because I get confused on that.
No, that's either Colt or Grayson. I'm not
okay.
Sure, but
all right.
I passed that along.
It's good that that's starting to go back up in the pin section. The Jeff Goodman, Quincy Acey, among some others. All right, everyone, again, thank you to the sponsors. Help us are from here in Indianapolis. A lot of them are the same sponsors, of course, that are with us every single day. Thanks to those of you who are a part of the text line today, Mike, Scotty, Jimmy, Steven, Daniel, and many others. For Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak's at football practice, Armstrong Sims, I'm David Smoak, live. Oh, my God. How many days, Paul? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday.
12 days.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It might be 13. I'm David Smoak, SicEm365 Radio. Good night.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.